Paper is roughly. Looks like paper.
Yeah, getting my notes. Hey, everybody, how's it going?
I was just, narrating the prose.
There you go. We like no dead air. That's what we like.
That's right.
Hey, everybody. It's Midnight's Edge After Dark. Happy Wednesday.
Hey, I met that guy at Star Trek Las Vegas for like 2 minutes. Not even. Not Commander Strand, but the guy who's in his picture there.
Oh, you got to meet Jeffrey Combs? I didn't get to meet him.
Yeah, real quick. He was really cool. He was down to earth, but I didn't get to talk to him very long.
I'm, of course, your narrator, Mr. Rob Robot Shlomo. With me, as always, Mr. Tom Connors.
I am?
Yeah, you
I
are.
don't go in the bathroom with you. We made that rule.
Yeah, well.
It's for both of our benefits. You got stage fright with little Elvis, and then I don't want to be in there when you're doing a deuce.
Whew. Yeah, thinking that Cheech Chong bit. Whoa, yeah. Whoa, burritos, man. With us is the anti-trucker, Mr. Michael J. Crawford.
Hey, everybody. I think I'm here, properly medicated and ready for fun.
If you're going to be medicated, be properly medicated.
He's in the chat, too. It's, weird.
Oh, that was weird.
He left a dookie in the chat though. And it's on screen here too. I don't know how I feel about that. Where's my writing crop? Damn it.
I don't know where's your writing crop.
Well, I got this. This is the easiest one.
Where's my back scratcher? That music means it's time to introduce the one, the only, your favorite YouTube harpy, the
Queen of the Fandom Menace.
Yes, the Ninja Warrior Viking, Stealth Queen, award-winning chef. She has an ESPY, an Emmy, an Oscar, a Tony. She has a BA, a BM, BS, an MBA.
You fucked it up.
And is a BMF, Miss Mecca Random.
It's a BMF.
We told you this already.
Okay.
Motherfucker.
This is what happens when you're a 420 friendly channel. You forget things.
You do too much 420. That's why.
It's the only thing that keeps me sane anymore. Because have you seen what's going on in the
I don't eat junk food, but I do eat a lot of edibles. So it's like, oh my God, I eat tons and tons of candy probably.
My birthday is actually 420.
That's probably why you're cool.
Yeah, that must be it. Although, and Mrs. Anti-Tracker, her first name is Bridget. And so we decided that if those types of products are ever legalized where we live, we're going to open up a place called Bridgetables.
Nice.
That's pretty good. I like that.
That is great. That's catchy. I like that.
It's spreading quickly, though. There's a couple places around me that are already going to legalize it after the first of the year. So
I got 2 or 3 of them down the street. So
well, yeah, you're already in a place.
Spoiled. I know. I'm so spoiled.
You can talk about it so much, but yeah.
Yeah, the state I live in didn't have the balls to legalize it. So, well, maybe we'll bring it up for a vote, but we'll see about possibly making it a constitutional amendment so it could be voted on by the just shut up. Legalize.
It doesn't matter. You're just gonna end up moving out here anyway.
I am?
Yes.
Oh.
I'm going to shop out in Nevada.
I've decreed it so well. Nevada's too fucking hot. It's a shit.
I've been depressed since I've been out. I've left out there. Well, you're probably not wrong, but it's a mecca where everything's happening. Not the same kind of mecca as you, but
yeah, I know there's stuff going on, but it's also really expensive, really hot. It's got a lot of turmoil and a lot of it's kind of a ghetto. It's kind of a shithole.
But there's no state tax, and my chances of meeting Quentin Tarantino go up astronomically the moment I go over the state line.
Yeah.
Where to where?
He hangs out in Las Vegas a lot, I've heard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but still, I mean, you live in Colorado, you're only $100 away from, a flight, a 2-hour flight and $100. So,
well, it only costs $100 from where I'm about at now.
But here's the thing. If you go to Colorado and ingest certain products, you will think you met Quentin Tarantino, and that's just as good, right?
That's right. and then
All
you
right.
can just save money going to a strip club and find some cheap hookers, and you're good to go.
Well, strippers in Colorado are better too because they're not all crackheads. Like,
Well, that's hopeful.
Although they do a lot of mountain climbing, so expect a lot of calluses. And...
Rocky Mountain High.
Yeah, I keep thinking of that Lemonhead song. I'm not the outdoor type. So,
I'm not either, but it's nice here because like you can like look at all the bicycle people and be like, yep, have fun with that. I'm gonna go inside and listen to some music and play my sitar.
That's the other thing. There's all kinds of music in there and everything at once. So anyhow, let's move on to the fucking news. We've already wasted well over 5 minutes on our opening chit chat, which is way too long. And that's mostly my fault, so I'm not going to blame
banter.
I
Yeah,
agree.
sure.
It's your fault.
Banter can be dangerous.
What is the
the main
is our-
story?
yeah? What is the
We
leaks?
predicted that somebody, whether it was Dave Chappelle himself or Walter Mosley himself, would probably speak out about this whole situation between our last show and now. I was kind of surprised it was Walter Mosley.
Walter Mosley seems like a class act, though. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I'm not familiar with him, but he does seem like a really kind of class because he did not name names. Remember?
Exactly.
He
And
still
He threw themselves under the bus.
I know. He's like, well, I was working for another network on another show, and they're like, we let you go at Star Trek Discovery because it is. Oh, are you really? You guys are really being the 3-year-olds, admitting it was you, huh? That's about your intellect.
Right. And there's a few people who agree with them. They're like, well, that's the policy. And I'm like, just like I said to Robert Meyer Burnett the other night, what the fuck is the point of having HR if you're going to have such a strict policy then?
Mm-hmm.
You really shouldn't even have an HR. It should just be, well, that's the way it is. If somebody complains, they get fired. Period.
It doesn't matter if that's their policy or not. The point is that it's beyond policy at this point. It is to the point where we're censoring what people say and don't say because we're afraid of offending some little pussy in a writer's room somewhere. And I'm sorry, whoever complained is a giant, big, fat pussy, right? And they don't deserve to have a job or be let out of their mother's womb because they don't understand things. They are children over there at Star Trek Discovery, and I'm going to call them out at being children because the very young do not always understand things, and I'm so tired of this.
Well, what's funny is the way he talks, he was like the only black guy in the room, but I'm sure that's not the case.
Mm.
But
I don't know. Have you seen any of the behind the scenes pictures from Star Trek Discovery? I mean, I showed it on my channel one time where we were looking at this set photo. There was a total of like 12 or 13 people in the picture. And Sonequa Martin Green was the only person who was not white. And out of the 12 people, she was one of 2 women.
Yeah.
Well, according to the one article, there's like 3, I think, black people in the writers.
I saw that. I saw your video. Awful lot of hunkies on the recommended CD.
Anyhow, Walter did speak out to NBC, and he sounds like the kind of guy when he speaks, you shut the fuck up and listen to what he has to say.
Mm-hmm.
But
he
you know,
has a very commanding presence.
There you go, diversity.
he does.
Yay.
But you know what?
Because this is mostly all the producers.
I know, the producers, but still, diversity. Yay! Look at us. We're so woke and diverse, and
you've got you got some diversity here because first of all,
you got a woman and a Jewish guy, right?
Well, hey, you do have a woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
And notice that you have facial hair on 3 out of the 4 men. So that, but no top hair on 1. So you clearly look at 2 of them are wearing, or 3 of them are wearing glasses. This is like an incredibly diverse group. Only 2 of them are significantly overweight. I'm really impressed. This is like we have 2, 3 if you count Mr. Bald Guy, 3 with gray hair, 2 without. We have got a ton of diversity in this picture.
All I can see here, and it makes me wonder why Gillette ever did what they did, because obviously the guys that they're trying to suck up to don't fucking shave anyway.
No, they don't. This looks like a dream team of suck. I mean, that's
Here are the people you want to avoid. I mean, well, isn't one of them Michael Chabon though? Yeah, he's supposed to be good as a writer, but I don't trust anything anymore.
Chabon is the guy who looks like Chris Christopherson. So, yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I just look at this picture and I see, starting on the left, a fat version of that skinny guy that was in Parks and Rec with Kenny Rogers, Evil Incarnate, one of the Snoo women from Futurama, and the Mirror Universe version of Picard.
You're giving Akiva way too much.
Yeah, wasn't Akiva Goldsman fired for using the derogatory homosexual term, or should he be? Or yet has he been fired yet for that? Because that's the next one I hear.
Or so, whatever, for Discovery, and then he came back on for Picard.
Because there's fewer gay people there. Because I'm sorry, last I heard that was the big talking point on Picard is, hey, the guy who plays Hugh is gay. Look at us, we're so diverse because we have a gay actor who's Latino. Look, he's gay. Look, he's married to Jerry Ryan's manager. Look, see, he's gay. He's gay. Guess what? He's gay. We're so diverse. Look how woke we are. We hired a gay person.
Mecca, are you saying? I just want to make sure I understand this correctly.
Guess what? He's gay. We're so diverse. Look how woke we are. We hired.
So Mecca, are you saying that there are gay actors?
Apparently, now that's a new thing to me. I've never heard of that. You know,
I've never. Yeah. What? I'm sorry. Where did this come from? I mean, all my actors have been great, strong, straight men. Like start all the way back to Rock Hudson. You know, I don't know what
and
you're
Liberace, Jim Neighbors, and
Charles
Nelson Riley. Yeah.
Oh, Charles Nelson Riley. He probably got more pussy than Liberace.
Oh
yeah.
Oh, come here, girl. Let me show you my center square.
But see, we liked them to, you know, whether we knew they were or not, because they were talented people, and that's not why you hire somebody. You know, you don't gotta dust off somebody who played Hugh of Borg 20 some odd years ago, somebody I've never even seen on anything since, because they're gay, because you're trying for A, the member berries, and B, the woke points. I don't care.
Hi. You got the manners to say hello first?
Okay, well, we've really built this up. So let's, this is actually like a 5-minute clip. I don't know how Rob wants to navigate around this.
Just play the
audio and you'll be fine.
Just play a couple of choice where, you know, I mean, because I haven't seen
it's all pretty good.
Yeah, I haven't listened to it. Well, if we want to just stop and comment on it every few seconds, like 30 seconds, and then comment to avoid the copyright. But I think the audio is so, like, if Rob plays it, it's gonna be so garbled anyway.
I got the audio.
So. Okay. Oh, okay.
Walter Mosley, one of America's most prolific writers, has quit his job on a successful TV show.
Hold on, stop right there.
Wait, successful?
Yeah, successful TV show.
Which show are they talking about?
What was the show he's on before?
And they're talking about the FX show.
No, because I watched this a little while ago. They are talking about Discovery. They really, and that's just like, well, if it's successful, then that means CBS released numbers and we can see them now. Right?
I have more people who found numbers of how unsearched Discovery is and untalked about. Like, this is probably the only thing that's getting people talking about this at this point.
You know what? I'll bet you anything. Wouldn't it be funny if Mosley is actually, this whole thing is a troll because CBS was like, look, we need something to get some attention to Discovery.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't believe that he would stoop to that.
I don't either.
This man's too classy. CBS, however, yeah, they're using this. That's why he didn't. I believe that's why he didn't say who it was, because he's classy. And they're like, oh, hey, it's us. Look at us. We need attention because we're Discovery and we don't have anything else. We need attention because we're such a pathetic piece of crap show that we don't have anything else.
Actually, you know, we did reach out to a CBS executive, and he actually did tell me the exact numbers of how many people watch Star Trek Discovery, and this is what he had to say.
7.
So,
Writer's Room. The Hollywood Reporter wrote Mosley walked away from the latest Star Trek series after the incident. Mosley, the writer of more than 40 novels, is best known for his gritty portrayals of the criminal underbelly of Los Angeles through his character, Easy Rawlins, a black private detective. Mosley penned an op-ed in the New York Times explaining his decision to leave. And Walter Mosley joins me live. Mr. Mosley, thank you for your time, sir.
You're welcome. It's nice to be here.
I know that you got called into Human Resources over your use of the N-word, not a word that we use on this program. But tell us how it all unfolded.
Oh, no, it's very simple. I was telling a story. I said I got stopped by a policeman in Los Angeles, and that policeman, after he searched me and he did all this other stuff. This was years ago. He said,
"Hold on,
well,
Tom,
we don't use that."
Do we know how old Walter Mosley was when he got stopped by the cop?
He doesn't say.
No, he doesn't say when it was.
All right. Okay. All right. Continue on. Well, we just had to break it up a little bit, because we're going a little long. Okay.
He said, I stop in Patty neighborhoods and Patty's in neighborhoods, and I'm like, okay. And I was just telling the story. We were all talking about experiences we had with the police, and the next day I get a call from HR. You use that word. I said, well, yeah, I am that word. And they said, you can't use that word in the room. He said, you can write it in the script, but you can't use it in the room.
So yeah, this is pretty much what we know so far, and he's going to continue to recover the story.
Yeah, I mean, I can I add? He sounds a lot more intelligent than anybody who's been writing on Discovery.
Yeah, it's like, how did he get a job at this Discovery writers' room? I mean, because they don't have anyone this smart.
No.
And by the way, I would say, while they don't give the date, I would say that it's probably a safe bet that was a long time ago, considering when was the last time you heard Irish people referred to as patties?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I didn't even know.
Other words, that we might fire you like that.
There's the other thing is he said other words. So it isn't just this word. And he goes, and we might fire you like that.
No, what he's saying is that there are other words that if you
That's
said
what I'm saying. It's not just that word. It's just
but what are these other words? What is a worse word than the N-word?
Yeah, I know.
That's a few of them.
I mean, are they saying like if you use a derogatory term like the British word for cigarette against a homosexual, is that worse and an instant termination? As opposed to calling a black person the N-word, because I would dare say that calling a black person the N-word
unless you're a
worse.
producer, yes.
Yeah. Unless you're Akiva Goldsman.
And I went, wow, this is so awful. I mean, it's bad in a writer's room because you have to be creative, you have to be able to talk, you have to, be open and loose. But I think it's bad anywhere that if you want to stop somebody from being able to express themselves. I mean, they shouldn't bully people. They shouldn't insult people. I mean, there's things that you can't do.
Right.
And also, I think HR is wrong.
You wrote in this op-ed, and I would encourage everyone to read the op-ed, but you wrote in part, and this is the part that stuck out to me, there I was being chastised for criticizing the word that oppressed me and mine for centuries. As far as I know, the word is in the dictionary. As far as I know, the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence assured me of both the freedom of speech and the pursuit of happiness.
All right. Now this goes, and people have brought up, a good point that he said this in the workplace. Doesn't matter. The freedom of speech doesn't exist on private areas and workspaces. But it does need to be pointed out he's in a writer's room.
Not only that, they show fucking dead baby heads, decapitated baby heads, and full-on rape scenes in this show. They can go fuck themselves.
Not to mention 4-letter words.
Yeah, and 4-letter words like, oh, that's fucking awesome. And yeah, seriously, if you can say the word fuck on Star Trek Discovery, a black writer can relay an anecdote where he has personally been affected by racism. I am sorry if you are that much of a fucking pussy at Star Trek Discovery. And I'm going to use that word because that's what they are. They are small-minded little children who cannot understand when somebody, like the context of a word or a phrase, and they think that they need to be edgy by showing these rape scenes and by showing all these things over there, and then they don't even have the balls to actually go through with anything like the dead baby head. Oh, see, it's a fake out. It's not a real dead baby. She didn't actually do it, because they don't even have the balls to do it. That is this whole show. It's like they want to be edgy, but they don't have the balls to do anything. And then you have somebody who can actually contribute contribute some life experience and can contribute some actual, prejudice or at least experiences with that, and being the victim of that, and maybe relay that into an intelligently written story. But no, you guys have to go and complain and tattle to HR like a bunch of children because he's not part of your clique because he's too smart for you. Is that it?
Mecca.
Well, you would think that it would be the case that, something like that shouldn't get you in trouble, but unfortunately, in a place like CBS, it evidently does. And now he goes on to also say that they were, and I think he said it already, but they were relaying incidences where they had run-ins with the police. So everybody else was telling their individual stories too. So
yeah, like he's not allowed to. It's like what? So he's oppressed. He can't tell a verbatim account of something that he was actually a victim of in this circumstance. And that is what is so disgusting here, is this double standard. And he didn't call anybody this. And no, I don't condone the use of that word, obviously. But sometimes you've got to understand. Sometimes you have to hear it to understand the impact and the horrificness of it. And using it sparingly in an anecdote like that, where you're telling a personal thing. Yeah,
he's upset that he got HR called on him for it. Instead of somebody just going, hey, we'd rather you just say the N word in quotations instead of actually saying the word. Some of us just aren't comfortable with that.
Well, I'm not comfortable with it. And it's a word that we're not, it's a word you're not supposed to be comfortable with. It's a word that is horrible to say. You never want to call somebody that.
But and to hear it, though, and he even shows it in this interview right off the bat when the one guy says, well, that's a word we don't use on the network, he respects that. Obviously, he doesn't just start throwing that word around. What he's saying is, okay, fine. I understand you have a problem with that word. Don't go running to HR and snitch on me, though.
Right.
Come to me to my face. Tell me you have a problem with it, and I will censor myself from here on out for you. But I'm not going to do that kind of a thing where I feel like I'm being watched constantly and have to worry about every word I use possibly losing my job, especially for somebody like Walter Mosley, who's like, I don't need this aggro-fucking-patient. I got more important shit to do.
Exactly. And that's why I'm calling the person who snitched on him a pussy, because a pussy does that. A little bitch who does that, who is going to complain and snitch to HR instead of saying, yeah, I'm not really comfortable with that word. Can you maybe not say that? Because that's what I would say. It's like, I don't want to hear the word either. I don't think it's very respectful to hear. I don't want to hear people being called that. But, at the same time, that's one of those words that have power. And we do have to kind of understand the impact that it's had in the past. And for everybody to just ignore the context of something, just to go and tattle like a little bitch, then that's what I have a problem with.
Mecca. You really, I just got a call from HR, and you really, really need to curtail your use of words that describe female genitalia and dogs, because it's just not acceptable to use that kind of language in an open discussion. So I'm sorry, you're just gonna have to turn in your writing prop.
Yeah, take it from my cold dead hands.
When my place of employment tells me that my job is on the line if I say a word that makes somebody, an unknown person, uncomfortable. You chose to quit. Why quit?
Well, I could no longer do my job just to begin with. If I'm in the room and thinking, well, what did I just say? How did I just say it? What did I just look? Who did I just touch? If that's the way that you're going to be, guided by, these kind of McCarthyistic, whistleblowers, snitchers, I said, well, I can't do it. So
snitchers.
Mm-hmm. Snitchers.
Okay. Well, who did he just say? He comes up and he comes up something behind somebody, and pats him like, "Hey, good job,"
Right. The way that sounded, especially think about the crap going on in Hollywood these days. The way he said that, I was like, yeah, what's the big deal? I grabbed her, fill in a Donald Trump joke or something. But I mean, I get where he's coming from, but I don't think he should have included who did I just touch in that.
Well, he may mean just like graze up against the wrong person. You know what I mean?
Right.
Bump into the wrong person. It's like, I get what he's saying in a sense that he doesn't want to have to feel like, oh, now I have to worry about every time I'm around this individual here, I have to act this way as opposed to any other time.
Well, I know that's what he meant, but it sounded to me like, oh, great. Now we can't have sex with our staff.
Well, I can see where he's coming from, because you get into this mindset of, okay, now I can't say anything because I'm going to piss off everybody, and you don't want to walk on eggshells. That's a very abusive environment to be in, if you're constantly censored and constantly worrying about what you're going to say that's going to piss somebody off. I said it. It's abusive.
That was the first decision. And then, over time, I was talking to friends about it and saying, I should write an op-ed piece. And I thought, really, it is true. I should write it, because a lot of people can't quit. I've gotten lots of emails from, friends and other people saying that happened to me, but I couldn't quit because I had to pay my rent. And, I already have my rent paid, so it's okay.
It's one of the things that also stood out to me. I don't know if you've seen the new Dave Chappelle special on Netflix, but this is a topic that Dave tackles as well.
Yeah, and the way he says, you can tell that
he's watched it.
This was a major factor in this here, as we all kind of figured. Yeah, we're going to let it finish out here real quick.
The N-word, while certainly not used in polite company, it is widely used in entertainment. Chappelle goes on and on to talk about it in that special that I just referenced. What makes some usage acceptable and other usage not acceptable?
Well, I think the only language that one has to, really question and have some control over is when you're bullying somebody, when you're harassing somebody, when you're insulting somebody, like on purpose, when you're attacking. That's really it. Other than that, people use language. I might be really upset by somebody or, some, race or so-called race of people saying something, and it might make me mad and upset, but I'm never going to turn around and say, oh, well, that person, we have to pass a law against them using that language. Also, in that piece, I talk about the Confederate flag. That's not really, my favorite thing. But when people say to me, we have to make that illegal, I'm saying, no, you can't make anything illegal in America, because we can all express ourselves. And if you take that freedom away from one person, you take it away from everyone.
Mr. Mosley,
that's a very important
smartest man in the room. That's what I said. He's probably the smartest man in the room. They got threatened by him, by his intelligence, and they were in their little clique of Well,
not just that. He's obviously a liberal and a progressive, but he's not going to toe that line that a lot of these SJW NPC.
Well, there's a difference between being a liberal and a progressive and just being one of these little outrage mob cancel culture.
That's what I'm saying. He's not going to be. He's not going to sit there and say, he's not going to be a hypocrite or a hyperbolic hypocrite like a lot of them are when it comes to this. Oh, you can't say that. You're offending me and you're offending so and so, and you can't say that. I'm going to cancel you, as opposed to when they can say and do whatever they want.
Exactly.
Right.
It's okay.
And I'll tell you, since I'm a recent immigrant to the American South, right? I grew up on the West Coast. I grew up in California. I lived in Portland, Oregon for a long time. And, like Mr. Mosley, most people believe that the Confederate flag means that anybody that has one is like just looking for someone to lynch, right? And that everybody in the South is like driving a pickup truck with a bunch of guns on the back because who we gonna kill today? Yeah, And when we moved to Tennessee, where we live now, and we were shopping for houses, the house across the street from a house we were looking at had an open garage door with a Confederate flag hanging inside of it. And I was like, nope, not interested. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that my wife is Black, and we were concerned that, we don't want to have any trouble, And
did we lose Anti-Tracker?
Did we lose you?
Oh, no.
I think we did. Something happened.
They got him. The Confederates got him.
All right. Well, I think he accidentally bumped out. Well, we'll finish up this while we're waiting for him to come
Black
back.
writer who presumably was brought in to lend a certain voice in that writer's room. If you can't use the N-word in retelling a story, what does that say about where we are right now as a society?
Well, listen. What it means is the people who are way up and in charge are protecting themselves from things that might be bad. They might get sued. They might do this. Now, I don't think anybody's actually worried about any language I use or that anybody else uses. I think that it's really it's another thing. We're protecting ourselves from something way over there, and they're not protecting me. They're protecting them. They're not protecting people in my room. They're protecting them.
Walter Mosley. Thank you, sir. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
And that's the other important thing, is we just keep pointing to again and again, is that it's not to protect, anybody other than CBS and the feelings of the idiots in the room.
Yeah, they just don't want to be sued. They don't want to be. And I'm really disgusted how they're using this story as a way to get publicity. I'm really disgusted that they're using this as a way for people to spread this false narrative that, oh yes, it's a successful show, it's good, it's it's so progressive and it's so this and that, and like that's actually regressive.
Mm-hmm. Well,
what they're doing.
They can't get publicity for Star Trek Discovery by people actually watching the show. I mean, it's...
Yeah. All right. Well, no, Annie Trekker, you were in the middle of a story. You said,
I know, and I felt. Where was I when
you seen a Confederate flag, and you're like, nope, don't want any part of it or something or other. And
right.
Then, yeah.
And so we saw that flag. We're like, no, we're not moving here. And then the house that we ended up putting a bid on fell through. We went back to that house. We got that house. That's where I live now. A couple of weeks later, I met the guy, learned about like the fact that his, I think it was great grandfather fought in the Civil War. That battle flag was his great grandfather's, and he started talking about the history of the Confederacy and what it meant to a lot of people and stuff. And I got my eyes open, basically, that a lot of Southerners that people think are racist really aren't. And I was really blown away by the fact that my wife and I, being an interracial couple, have been treated better in the South than we were ever treated in California or Oregon, by a long shot. We get good service in restaurants, not something we were used to before. We would actually not be ignored when we were waiting in line somewhere, not something we were used to. We weren't getting dirty looks from people. So I was blown away by the South's attitude about race. I think people like Mosley are ignorant as to that, but he's not a hypocrite, like you were saying earlier, Mecca. He's not being intellectually dishonest because he feels, hey, if I want to say something, it means you get to say something too. And that's what, unfortunately, nobody seems to get anymore. In the South right now, there are people trying to ban the Confederate flag because they don't bother to ask someone what it means to them. Instead, they're going to project what they think about it. Oh, it's a symbol of hate. Why? Because that's what you think it is, but you don't ask the person that actually cares about it.
Exactly. Well, it's the same thing with the conservatives versus liberals. Like I know a lot of people on both sides, and I don't care who they voted for because they're decent people and they're nice to me. And this whole misnomer that every Trump supporter is a racist, bigot is not the case. And then not every liberal out there is just an SJW. There's a lot of people have a lot of different beliefs, and I get so tired of this narrative on both sides.
Right.
It's just disgusting to me. And that's why Star Trek Discovery is so terrible lately, because they have this whole this whole culture in their writing room, in their production offices, in a lot of their actors, that we saw it at Star Trek Las Vegas. They come out on stage and they want to insult the president like this is the place to do it.
Fuck Trump, and we got diversity. Look,
yes,
we're gay, we're Asian, we're Indian, we're this.
Yes, we have diversity, and you never did until we came along, and you should be more inclusive.
Right.
Fuck you, Mary Chieffo. My favorite captain is Cisco. Suck my dick, Mary Chieffo. I don't care if you gave me a dirty look or not now. Like, I felt bad about saying don't watch Discovery and you actually accidentally overheard it until you decided to get all uppity about everything and tell us how horrible we are. It's like, seriously, if we need to be more inclusive, maybe you guys do too. Maybe you should be a little bit more inclusive of your conservative viewers of Star Trek, because guess what? You have the opportunity to educate people without preaching. You have the opportunity to maybe change somebody's mind. Maybe somebody is ignorant out there. Maybe somebody actually is prejudiced and they don't understand that they're being that way, and you can do it in a way that's going to open their eyes because you're Star Trek. You have the responsibility to do that. But no, what do? You just preach and you're like, oh, you're an ist, you're an ist. Shut up. Just shut up.
You see, and the thing about that, Mecca, and this is what's, and Discovery does it way worse than anything I've ever seen before. But unfortunately, this is something that I think Star Trek gradually lost, starting with The Next Generation. If you look at the original series, something it did better than pretty much any other Star Trek series is to purposely show both sides. Like if you look at episodes like one of my personal favorites on the topic, Let That Be Your Last Battlefield, where they show the oppressor and the oppressed as being dead wrong. That just because you could say the original crime might have been committed by this group as opposed to this group, that doesn't mean that the modern iteration of that group is all sweet and innocent.
Right. Exactly.
And so
Well,
I
had some of that in TNG.
Well, I think that TNG.
I can't remember the name of the episode, but what was the one where there was like
the Black Planet?
No. I'm trying to get to it. It was like there was like this facility, and there was one group of people in the facility, and they were like, I think like a slave unit to this other group on the planet, but it all had more to do with this whole other hierarchy of power on the planet that was actually controlling the two and causing the fighting to begin with. God, which episode? It was an earlier episode of TNG. Nobody knows what I'm talking about, do they?
From your description, it's not ringing a bell.
Yeah,
probably not. Yeah. So, like, I was gonna say, it does have kind of like I think that they did okay with it, but it may have been lost later down the road in some other iterations of Star Trek, and maybe down the road in the show, perhaps. But
and Captain Robert April pointed out for the episode "Private Little War" actually gives a rationalization for things like the Vietnam War. Right, and an effective one, in fact.
We have to make sure there is that balance of power.
Right.
Otherwise, all is lost. Yeah, that's okay. Sorry.
That's all right. But the thing I think where I have a little bit of an issue with TNG, and TNG honestly probably did it more than any other of the Star Treks, not counting Discovery, because Discovery is way out there in its own category. But TNG felt like it had a political side to it, right? Where TNG was clearly a liberal show. Whereas, and I'm not saying that as a bad thing. It just
but maybe that's just because they followed a little bit closer to what Roddenberry.
Well, Roddenberry was in charge for the first two seasons.
My issue with TNG my only issue with TNG is how they only showed the Federation bowing towards every other alien out there, and none of the aliens showed the Federation the same respect. They never went up to the humans and said, "Oh, you shake hands, therefore I'm going to shake your hand." Right. They always showed the Federation bowing down and being the subservient little, see, we're the white people, we're the bad ones, we're the ones we'll do what you want, we'll conform to what your ideals and your culture is. That was my only
Q episodes, because Q episodes always usually wound up with Q understanding and being surprised by humanity a little bit more than he was when he started the episode. It always,
but he didn't.
Yeah, but Q didn't have a culture.
Yes,
right.
Kind of.
Yeah, it wasn't like, here's an alien dignitary, and we're going to have this elaborate way of dealing with this alien dignitary, but they're never going to follow our customs.
Right.
Well, Rob, you've been really, really quiet. What's your feelings on all this? Just go perfectly timed.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I'm speechless. Let's just say I don't have a lot more to say. I mean, it's all been said.
All right, maybe that's a good sign to move on to something else, unless Annie, Trekker, or Mecca have one or two more things to add to this. I think.
No, I just think that what we have here is a person who I would probably disagree with politically, but I would say has a lot of integrity, and walked out of what he saw as a hypocritical writer's room, and I applaud him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that speaks loads for the type of people we have working on Discovery more than anything. Yeah.
Yep. Lowest common denominator people.
Speaking of the lowest common denominator, Rian Johnson supposedly. Let's move on to the next story.
Grumble.
There's no supposedly about it. He said he was disappointed by The Empire Strikes Back, and you know what I heard? I heard his mom said the same thing about him. Oh.
Well, this is coming from a woman who couldn't be bothered to swallow and save us all.
Hey, Ryan, you know who else is?
We got to give her credit. She had to birth that head.
So it must be like passing a bowling ball, right?
I'm sure Rian Johnson's dad was disappointed in him too.
Wait, so we're going to be talking about Rian Johnson, right?
Do you need a drink?
No, I just need to change my screen. There you go. Yeah, that should do. Just watch the bouncing ball there. There we go. Who's that? Oh, yeah. So, all right.
That's creepy as fuck.
Yeah,
That is really creepy.
As Gary from Nerdrotic calls him, Sir Ruin of House Roundhead.
That looks like one of the Pink Floyd masks from the wall. You know?
So, yeah, we'll leave that on while we're...
Do I need to get my Ryan Johnson thwacker out?
Get your Ryan Johnson thingy, yes.
Where's my Ryan Johnson thwacker? I've got one specifically for him somewhere. It's not this one, it's the other
Got
one.
his name on it?
No, this is my name on it.
Jimmy, stop hitting me!
No. Oh, this is
We
the
got
Ryan
a
Johnson.
$5 suit.
This is the one I thwack Ryan Johnson with.
$5, Captain Hair. Let's wash politics out of our mouths. Rob, tell a joke. Oh wait, Rian Johnson, you're ahead of me.
Well, yeah, Last Jedi's Ryan Johnson was disappointed by The Empire Strikes Back when he first saw it. Oh, good.
big surprise.
Wait, Rian Johnson didn't like Great Star Wars?
Yeah, the one that everybody loves. Yeah, and then actually, just read the article real quick, Rob. The main gist of it, anyway, because there's shit in the article. I'm just like, really, dude, you should not be making a Star Wars movie.
The Last Jedi director Rian Roundhead Johnson reveals he was disappointed by The Empire Strikes Back when he first saw it as a child. Though it's considered arguably the best film in the Star Wars franchise, there was a point in time when the reaction to Empire was much more divisive. Liar.
That is an absolute freaking lie. I'm sorry. I saw every Star Wars movie on opening day. I am that old, and that is a lie from the pit of hell. Sorry.
That's okay. We're all thinking it.
No, you are correct, sir.
And okay, listen to the language they use here. Following the whiz-bang space opera of A New Hope, many were surprised. Many were surprised. Is this written by Patrick Willems? No, it isn't. Many were surprised by the darker turns Empire took, such as Han Solo being frozen in carbonite and Luke Skywalker learning the horrifying truth about his father. Additionally, the film ended on a downer cliffhanger, leaving some feeling unfulfilled. Empire's reputation drastically improved in the years, becoming the gold standard for Hollywood franchise sequels. Every other property has tried to make their Empire Strikes Back. It's amusing to know that the film wasn't always held in such high regard. Even someone who would go on to make his own divisive Star Wars movie wasn't particularly enamored with it when he first watched it in his youth. In an interview with Uprocks, the millennial hipster version of whatever it is, to promote Knives Out, Johnson touched on his relationship.
Don't let Ryan Johnson touch any. Can we Me Too him now? He touched.
Yeah.
I've been touched by Ryan Johnson, and I didn't like it.
His relationship to the Empire. He touched on his relationship to the Empire Strikes Back. It eventually became one of his favorite one. But after his first viewing, he wasn't a big fan.
But as a kid, I distinctly remember being disappointed by The Empire Strikes Back.
When Johnson's The Last Jedi became one of the most polarizing films of the decade, nearly 2 years ago, many remarked how the response was similar to initial Empire reactions. I don't.
No, it's what?
I don't remember any of this, and I was around in the 80s.
Johnson himself was hesitant to play up that comparison in the interview, but the parallels are definitely there. Fans were disappointed by some of Johnson's creative choices, which subverted which subverted many expectations people had going into the film.
Right.
I expected it to be good. I expected it to be a Star Wars movie. You know, I got something out of it. I got a porg at least. You know, and like what. He's breaking me. He's breaking me here. When you subvert my expectations, you know, I didn't expect that much from a Star Wars movie. I expected, you know, lightsabers, Jedi, Sith-ish stuff, you know, good guys, bad guys. I expected space chases and battles. I did not expect galactic fuel. and Mary Sue's, right? And Rose fucking Tico. I didn't expect that. I expected something good. I expected Star Wars characters in Star Wars.
And here's the thing, and I know that this article is not the first to come up with this whole thing about how Empire Strikes Back was so divisive back in 1980.
We were just talking about last week, weren't we?
I think we were actually. But here's the funny thing about that. That to suggest that would be like saying, boy, you remember in 1989 all those people that hated Best of Both Worlds Part 1. Right? You remember that, right? Everybody hated it.
No.
But you know what? That's the thing. For me, same thing. Because in 1980, nobody was saying, boy, that movie sucked. They're saying, oh my God, I got to wait 3 years to find out what happens.
Yeah, I know. That's what we were saying. And here's the news flash for everybody. Rian Johnson was 4 fucking years old when The Empire Strikes came out.
Wow. Yeah, so he was like, he was 4-year-old going, mommy,
he was 5 because he might have had to wait to see it because it wasn't in every theater opening weekend. This was back at a time where it took time for some theaters to get it.
Mommy, how come Luke doesn't drink milk from boobies like me? That's I'm gonna make a Star Wars movie where Luke drinks booby milk. I think that's what he was saying.
I need a duty in my pants.
We need duties in Star Wars.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
Yeah, we have audio of a 4-year-old Rian Johnson after walking out of the theater of The Empire Strikes Back. Here's what he had to say.
This sucks.
So, okay. So
yeah, that's pretty much all the audience that walked out of Last Jedi too.
But listen to this. This gets better. Okay.
Oh, good God.
Some maintain the belief The Last Jedi's own reputation will improve once The Rise of Skywalker comes out and people can view it within the full context of the sequel trilogy. It's not a coincidence. Empire became the high bar for the Star Wars series after Return of the Jedi wrapped up the original trilogy, and viewers could see how it all came together. That's bullshit.
Yeah, this is just them trying to tell us, oh no, see, it was bad. But this is the same thing with when they tell us how bad Star Trek used to be. This is just so the dumb idiot millennial demographic of people. Not all millennials are idiots, but the dumb ones. This is who they're trying to convince. The ones that get on Twitter and recite this shit.
Go watch Mahler's takedown of
yes,
Last Jedi. He says there are certain people out there who will say Episode 8 will be made better by Episode 9. Those same people were saying Episode 7 will be made better by Episode 8. He goes, this movie, Episode 9 will not make this movie any better retroactively. And this film will age poorly. It will.
It already is.
Yeah. Oh, as the more time goes on, the more warts and wrinkles you'll see. It really is. Yeah, Neil, you're right. It is shifting the goalposts. And the people, and as Mahler says, the defenders of The Last Jedi will come around. They will.
There's been more people. It's like Star Trek Discovery, though, isn't it? More and more people keep saying, "Yeah, actually, it wasn't that good." I can see why you didn't like it. I was on the fence, or I liked it a little bit when I watched it, or even I gave Last Jedi a fairly positive bit of feedback before I was doing YouTube for pop culture. I was still a gaming channel, but I told people that it's not that bad, and it wasn't at the time because it was a Star Wars movie. I was super excited for it. In retrospect, though, it was kind of stupid. It wasn't a good movie.
Okay,
what the telling thing is that I always hear, and I'll let you finish, Rob. Is that when I talk to people and they always go to the my kid just didn't like it at all. It just wasn't for my kid. And we've done a story about this. Doomcock recently did a story about this. Kids aren't into this shit no more. And The Last Jedi, I think, really turned a lot of kids off. I've not heard too many stories where people are like, oh, my kid just fell in love with Star Wars because of The Last Jedi. No, usually it's my kid fell out of love with Star Wars because of The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Don't you know kids always will want to see a commentary on the military-industrial complex?
No, we wanted to see puppets. Yeah, I wanted to see puppets. When I was a kid, I liked Ewoks. I liked Yoda. I liked R2D2. I like droids too. I didn't care that much about the people when I was a little kid in Star Wars, to be perfectly honest. I liked Yoda. I liked the Ewoks. And that's why they have that type of thing, because this is a movie franchise that is supposed to appeal to everybody, a little bit of everything. You know, you've got the romance stuff from Han and Leia, for the people who want a romance. You know, you've got the hero's journey with Luke for that. You know, you've got female representation with Leia for that. You've got all of these different things. And then you have the cute stuff for kids or girls or whatever. They don't have that anymore. They're like, oh, you're a girl, you need Rey. You want Rey to represent you. No, I already had Leia to represent me. Thank you very much. And I identified more with Yoda. You know?
Let me finish.
That's right. She's a know-it-all.
Yeah. Whether or not, okay, we're talking about how it all came together. Whether or not that happens obviously remains to be seen. But Johnson's case is encouraging that perhaps some will change their views on The Last Jedi in the next few years. Ha! Of course, there will always be people displeased by the film, which is par for the course with something as massive as Star Wars. But it would be nice if The Last Jedi discourse wasn't as heated and volatile as it is now. Well, you know why it's heated and volatile? Because we keep seeing think pieces like this telling us how wrong we are.
Not just that, but, you know, honestly, it's the fact that they say, oh, you just didn't like it because you hate women. Or, you know, and it's like, that's when all of a sudden, as soon as that started, that's when, you know, the nerd community stood up and said, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
And, you know, and that's when all these great takedown videos that came up, you know, I did my 20-odd part review of Last Jedi. A lot of people did. And it's because of the attitude of these people saying that, oh, well, if you didn't like it, it means you are a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, it's a bad movie.
I love that. I love that part. You talk about Captain Dummy.
Yes, Captain Dummy. Farewell, Captain Dummy.
Yeah.
You will not be missed.
Captain Dummy. And here's one I don't understand.
Actually, we should give him some context. For those of you that don't know, Captain Dummy was the commander of the Resistance ship that was destroyed, and for no reason whatsoever stayed on a ship that was out of fuel to pilot it and get killed.
Yes.
All right, good.
Why did all of a sudden all those ships have a 1970s era like yoke that they're hanging on to? Like,
yeah.
It's really just what it's just, I don't get it. I really don't. I really don't fucking get it. Well, anyway, finishing up this article, that will probably depend on what The Rise of Skywalker does to definitively end the story. So ideally, the saga will conclude on a high note, and there will be people like Johnson where disappointment over The Last Jedi turns into appreciation. No, there won't. No, there won't. You permanently foobarred the franchise, Ryan. You round-headed bastard.
Well, here's the thing. Even if, let's say JJ pulls off a miracle, and episode 9 is not just good, but great. Let's say that all four of us, we go see episode 9. It is the best Star Wars movie ever. We are completely happy with it. They fixed all the problems that we were upset about. And we walk out of that theater feeling completely satisfied. In no way, shape, or form does that make The Last Jedi a good movie.
No, that's the case they're making. That's the case they're making. If Rise of Skywalker is great,
that would be like saying just because you had great sex with your new girlfriend, that makes the sex you had with your last girlfriend that much better. That makes absolutely no sense. Right. It don't fucking work. The Force doesn't work that way, Ryan.
You know, for breakfast, we're going to give you some scrambled eggs. For lunch, we're going to give you a plate of dog crap. And then for dinner, we're going to give you the nicest filet mignon ever prepared. So that dinner really made lunch look good, huh?
Yeah. Well, the other thing I keep saying about it, and I already named this guy by name. That guy Patrick Willems. He's telling us we're all watching movies wrong because we don't like the Last Jedi. This is a movie for children about space wizards and
George Lucas said the same fucking thing about Star Wars, but you know what? It doesn't matter, and Pixar's a glowing example of that. A good kids movie, in quotations, should be able to transcend ages. And that's what
Yes.
Star Wars, at least the original trilogy, did.
My father was well into his 40s, entering his 50s, and he loved Star Wars. This is an Italian immigrant who sometimes had problems with English, but he got it. He got every single word, and he loved it. The DCB Titan, Canadian $5 from DCB Titan. I can't understand how he thinks his movie will be fondly remembered. His movie single-handedly made fandom appreciate the prequels. Yeah,
That's true. That is true.
It's
All of a
still
sudden, I was
like-
getting a lot less hate for not hating the prequels.
But overall, yeah, I personally, it didn't matter to me. But to go back to your story, though, Rob, you make a very good point. That's one of the reasons why Star Wars works, is because you don't really even have to speak English, at least the first film, to understand it. It's very visual. It's very well edited. A lot of the dialogue is kind of outside of the Force explanation. It's pretty throwaway.
Yeah. It was not a kid's movie. It was not explicitly a kid's movie. You had older people going to see it. You had teenagers seeing it. You had young adults seeing it. You had people in their 20s and their 30s and their 40s going to see it. I mean, it was a cross-generational event. Nobody had seen anything like this. It became a phenomenon. And don't give me this, it was to sell action figures. The action figures came a year later in 78. There was that Christmas in 77 where you got the voucher.
Yeah. No, that's what's wrong with Return of the Jedi, was the action figures.
Yeah.
That's why, to me, that's where the problem started creeping in. When Gary Kurtz was gone, when Lucas had his divorce, when it became more about the toys, and I think that was a direct quote from a few people at the time when Return of the Jedi was being made, was it was more about the toys than the story this time.
But this whole thing about this is a kid movie for children. No, it's not a movie for children. You get people getting their heads lopped off. You get people losing limbs. You have and this whole thing about there's a lot of really complex stuff going on, but it's there. The kids won't get bored by it. That's the other thing too.
Well, yeah, that's why they have a little bit for everybody in that. So, like, if you start to kind of zone out, if you're a little kid and you don't care about the grown-ups talking, well, just wait a couple of minutes. There's gonna be a cute droid scene, and if you're an adult and you don't care about that, then we'll get back to the story soon. That's how they used to make movies, and we weren't in such a culture where everybody was so offended and upset and needed everything censored and dumbed down and sanitized. I mean, look at you talk about people like Gary Kurtz and stuff. Look at the Dark Crystal. That never talked down to anybody. That was what it was. It was dark. It was scary. It was creepy. It was gross. It was weird, and it still is. And that's why the Dark Crystal is doing so well. And Star Wars is just crap now.
Well, here's one godfather of family films, and this is a quick story, Rob. Sorry. Walt Disney himself, when he made Snow White, he wasn't worried about the kids.
No,
he was worried about being able to get the adults to sit in the seats for just over an hour to watch an animated film, because at that time he didn't think anybody would be able to relate to animated characters on screen. So that was his biggest worry. And if that was the case, if he was just worried about making kids happy, then every movie for kids would be just for kids. They're not. They're for everybody, basically. But anyway, go ahead, Rob.
Well, I was about to say, though, I mean, Mecca brings up a good point, that movies have been dumbed down, and Rian Johnson's the I call it The Least Jedi is one of the I don't know if we call it a best example or the worst example of how inane storytelling has become. And I got into it with someone on Twitter about this, and there was, or whatever it was, discuss or whatever it was. I don't remember what it was. Some social media platform. Back in the 70s, I'm like, we didn't need every single gap filled in. A lot of stuff was handled through exposition, and we knew the Empire was evil. We knew there had been a republic by a lot of just carefully placed dialogue. You had
even more in the editing, yeah. If you see that video, but yeah.
Well, we have the conference room scene. They were talking about the Imperial Senate. The rebellion will continue to gain support in the Imperial Senate. The Imperial Senate will no longer be a concern. The Emperor has just adjourned the council permanently. And oh, how will they maintain control without the bureaucracy? They gave you enough to know that okay, there was this body called the Senate. It was obviously left over from something else or another, and then the last remnants of the old republic have been swept away. There was an old republic. There's an empire now. Something happened. This evil body rose up and took over, and then you saw storms. They gave you enough in the exposition so that you knew the good guys were good, the bad guys were evil, the bad guys were just really fucking evil. And you didn't need all these gaps. You didn't need to have your hand held while they tried to explain every little thing. Just like the whole fuel, the slow speed chase to refuel. That is what really, really, really shows you how dumb and idiotic movie making is. I don't need to see them looking for a gas station.
Well,
it's never been a thing in Star Wars, but yeah, go ahead.
Exactly.
And what I was going to say is, like, talking about as far as some dumbing things down, look at where are they trying to get ideas for movies now. Rogue One is an entire feature film based on one sentence from the original Star Wars.
Yes.
That one sentence was plenty. That's all we needed. Okay, brave rebel fighters stole the plans for the Death Star. Okay, I'm good. I don't need a 2-hour movie showing me that.
The rebellion has won their first battle.
Yeah,
they've won their first battle. I'm like, oh, really cool. They won their first. All right, there's good guys, and they've won a battle.
Yep,
that's okay. Good, ready to go.
You don't even really need the scene that you said, Rob, because you've said this you're better yourself before, and that is the very first opening shots of Star Wars give you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
Just with those puny little ship being dwarfed by this huge Imperial Star Destroyer that is just so huge and overpowering that it tells you everything you need to know about the underdog good guys and the big bad guys. Darth Vader's the cherry on top of everything.
That's the thing with like underdog stories. We don't have that anymore. Actually, I saw Stephanie B talking about that, I think, on Twitter, where it's uplifting and inspirational, and you want to root for an underdog. When you see somebody like Rey, who is good at everything with no reason to be that way, you don't care about her. And I don't care what their reason is. I don't care if she's going to be possessed by Palpatine and be a clone and be the granddaughter, whatever. She's not a good character for these two movies.
No.
And nothing you can do to her is going to fix that, because we don't care about her. We don't want to root for her. We don't go on any journey with her. She's just the perfect, she's like the bad guy.
Well, that's the thing. The only way to make Rey an interesting character in episode, and I hope he does this, but I think the only thing JJ can do to make Rey an interesting character in episode 9 is to truly make her the big bad. Is to make her truly evil. And because she is, 2-0 in the last 2 films, she kicks ass everywhere she goes. And so if she is the hero in the final battle of this film, there is zero tension whatsoever because we've never seen her lose.
Yeah.
And, Luke Skywalker's first victory in hand-to-hand combat was Return of the Jedi.
Why? Why did... Man, Anti-Trekker, you're old enough to remember this. Tom,
what's yet?
What made the 1980 USA hockey team gold medal so special?
Because we were going up against the invincible Russians.
Yes,
and at the time, and I'll tell you, I remember, because even though I didn't give a crap about sports, but everybody knew in 1980 that the Russians were the best in the world with hockey. And nobody could come close.
Before.
And they had lost to them 2 weeks prior, 7-2 at Madison Square Garden.
Right.
Yes. The Russians were unbeatable. Hold on, Captain Hair, $2. I already spoiled Ray's Darth Maul. Okay, yeah. But for those who aren't sports fans, in the 80s through 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, the Russians were the hockey powerhouse in the entire world. There was no beating them. And a bunch of scrappy college kids came in and they like David and Goliath, they slew the giant. Mm-hmm. And it was literally a miracle on ice. It was miraculous. It was a spectacle to behold. And I watched every freaking game I could back then. I was 10 years old, and I knew I was never going to see anything like this again.
All I remember is the movie. I was too young back.
But that's the thing. If you don't create a villainous force that, at least to the casual observer, seems to overpower our heroes, then there's no victory when the heroes win.
Exactly.
Right.
And we have not had that in modern Star Wars or modern Star Trek, for that matter, a villainous force that you genuinely feel is a threat.
Or you know what? Here, I can make Rey an interesting character in just a couple changes right now. Okay, first of all, make her mute. She can't talk. But people understand her because she's so powerful with the Force. And since she can't talk, and since she's so powerful with the Force, she's always been internalizing herself talking to the Force. And this is how come she's so powerful. And she's this strange girl that nobody can talk to, but they can always understand. And she's very in touch with and in tune with the Force. Right there, that little thing could have changed everything about her.
That's actually a cool idea.
But yeah, you have to give them some disadvantage. That goes back to our main complaint. She's too perfect.
Or you make her so powerful with the Force that she's dangerous, and she could kill people in an instant.
Yeah, you could show it with she can't talk. She's having a hard time understanding her, and she gets frustrated, and then accidentally she just throws her hands down, and all of a sudden, these two metal chairs just go crush, like Darth Vader could do, and everybody's like, "Oh shit!"
Remember? Rey is the equivalent, and we're all Futurama fans. Rey is the equivalent of Delivery Boy. Remember that comic Fry wrote?
Yeah.
He just kept adding powers on the fly. Yeah, Delivery Boy. That's Rey, and that's Mikey Spock too. And they violate the first rule Stan Lee always had when story writing: make the villain stronger than the hero.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't do that, then you're undermining your entire work. And that's, like you were talking about the opening shot of Star Wars. I'm sorry, I am old. I refuse to call it A New Hope. It has never been A New Hope. It is Star Wars. That's the name of that movie.
Uh-huh.
And
that's what I call it.
And so, and that's what it was called when it was released.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I was a kid, it was always Star Wars.
Yeah. So, but that opening shot in Star Wars with the small, raggedy-looking rebel ship and the behemoth Star Destroyer. We've never seen anything like that before. The Star Destroyer just covered with guns, pouring it down on that thing. It's running away. It's so small, it fits in the freaking shuttle bay of the Star Destroyer. Yeah, you definitely knew from the very first moment of that film that, the rebels are outgunned. They are outclassed in every way. This is not a Star War. This is a Star extermination.
Mm-hmm.
And even and by the way, I gotta say, even though I disagree with him a lot of the time, E.C. Henry put out a great video showing the accuracy of Imperial stormtroopers and how they're really not as big a joke as we try to make them out to be. And in that opening battle, the stormtroopers just rip through the rebellion. And it's a great, that whole sequence shows you, like you were saying, that, oh man, my avatar has definitely hit the fan, and these people are completely screwed. Now it's like, most movies, you never get that feeling. I got the only movie in the last few years that I can think of where I felt like the villain was that powerful was Infinity War.
Yeah.
And which is a real shame, because that's what movies really lack these days.
He is very Darth Vader in that movie, though, in a lot of ways, though, too.
But Thanos was a good villain, but how many great villains have you seen since the turn of the century?
Not many.
No.
Not that weren't already invented, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm sure Rob could come up with a couple of Bond villains that were good, but then they became most villains became the parody of the Bond villains.
Some of them became like Hugo Drax was almost just so cartoonish,
Yeah, that's what I mean. And
or Goldfinger would be a good example.
Outside of the Joker as the initial, as we know him in the initial way, not necessarily what we're probably going to get in the Joker movie, but as the villain as a complete opposite of Batman. He works really well.
But yeah, and that's the problem. You know, if a hero is only as good as their villain, then, you know, well, Kylo doesn't even, you know, what kind of a villain is Kylo Ren even supposed to be? Oh, I feel I'm being drawn to the light. So you're saying you're not that bad? That's your villain? You know?
They found a way to out emo Anakin Skywalker, which is ridiculous.
That's a bad thing. That we didn't like how emo he was.
They're Cobra Commander and Destro. They're interchangeable. I mean, they're just so cartoonish that you can't take them seriously.
But the thing is, though, is that at least you can give Anakin that he gave that really biting social commentary about how coarse sand is.
It gets everywhere.
And I do have one more villain to add to your list, but it's still not a very big list, and that'd probably be Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah.
She's playing with the kitty.
Yeah, and he wasn't even the villain of that movie.
Well,
no, he wasn't.
Well, he kind of is in every iteration, almost in a way. He's in the background, but then in the Hannibal book itself, the third story, he is.
The other thing too is this comes back to actually one of the problems I have with the Joker movie, is that there's this desire to show the villains as not evil but misunderstood.
Right.
I don't know if they're gonna go for that though. Everything I'm seeing is like, yeah, actually, no, he's not gonna be a good guy. So,
well, the critics, have come out now. The regular critics are coming out and they're saying all kinds of crazy shit about it. So who knows what's going to happen now?
Yeah, but I get from the
well, it's not owned by
trailers-
Disney.
Yeah, but from the trailers, it does look like the entire movie is set up to make you empathize with him. And maybe he'll be pure evil at the end of the film, but you're going to think, oh, how tragic, as opposed to, oh my God, somebody kill him, you know?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that would be a bad thing. And not because of more than any other reason. That's really not the Joker. And that's what, I mean, I don't know. Were we going to talk about this yet? We might as well jump into that then. The whole
might as well segue into that.
Where he had said that the movie would have been better if it wasn't a Joker film and just a Travis Bickle movie kind of thing, you know, where he was just some random killer.
Well, that's what I was saying too. It's like it kind of feels like it's going to hurt it for me bringing in this whole crowd of comic book people because, you know, you've got a certain expectation for some comic book fans and especially some of the people who just want to see a popcorn movie that, you know, it's going to be like this another superhero movie, then people are going to be disappointed or angry, and then you have a lot of people who are expecting, oh no, it's going to be the next Dark Knight, you know. So,
we're talking about the Joker now, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're jumping into that. I'm trying to find.
No, that's okay. I just need to make sure to update everything. Right.
But like I keep saying though, there's this whole I'm not that interested in a Joker movie. I'll just say that right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. I'm not that interested. This whole the Joker. I'm like, you know what? It works better for me if I just say, "Damn, that guy's fucking nuts." You know, I don't need to know the tragic upbringing of the Joker. He was spurned by society, one man's descent into pass. But at the same time, this Joker movie is actually being it's not being review bombed, but it's actually causing quite a bit of
it's kind of being review bombed because they're doing the exact same thing that they do with every movie where they're kind of giving it a different review than what they're actually saying. Like their score doesn't match, you know. It's getting pretty much the same scores that like the Marvel movies get, but they're giving it like the splat rating instead of the fresh rating. It's like, well, okay, 3 out of 5 now means it's crap, just so you can review bomb it and tank it. It's like, okay, so it won the Venice Film Festival. What are you trying to tell us?
Because it's like I said. Remember what we said? We were going to have there was going to be a dilemma when they said, "Oh, a white man is a hero, but he's fighting."
Yeah, that's my big problem with it is how they're treating this as a reason to be like, oh, every incel in America is gonna go and shoot up people. Like, no, that's not going to be the case. We've had video games for years, and that's kind of and of course now they say this and some asshole will probably do it now, but that's kind of the copy and paste blue check mark response is to attack it as like, oh, incels are going to look up to him, incels and basement dwellers and all these horrible white men and neckbeards are going to, and that's kind of the big.
Well, this has been a bad week for the people on that side of the fence, though. The Joker movie's getting rave reviews. Dave Chappelle talking about painting a lot of critics into a corner, and you have Walter Mosley showing that the Star Trek the STD isn't as diverse as they claim.
Mm-hmm.
So Joaquin Phoenix never liked Thomas Wayne being included in the Joker script. Joker has taken the Venice Film Festival and the Toronto International Film Festival by storm, but not everything about the acclaimed comic book film sits well with leading star Joaquin Phoenix. According, the actor's interview with the New York Times includes a revelation from the Joker director and co-writer Todd Phillips that Phoenix dislikes the inclusion of Thomas Wayne in the film's script. The movie's explicit connection to the DC Comics mythology was Phoenix's greatest misgiving about the Joker.
That's kind of the whole point.
Yeah, it's like, I want to be in this comic book movie, but man, do they really have to have connections to comics?
That's as bad as when John Peters told Kevin Smith when he went to go write Superman, he wanted him to get rid of the cape and the outfit and don't make him fly and all this other crap. It's like, then he's not Superman.
You just have a guy running around in a denim jacket,
Yeah, and glasses.
But that's kind of what this Joker movie looks like to me. It's like it looks like he's probably, I'm guessing that every scene that he's actually in makeup is in the trailer.
Probably, yeah.
And so
That's part of the movie, yeah.
The Joker, and that shows a fundamental misunderstanding of the Joker, because the Joker looks like the Joker all the time. That's one thing I loved about Jack Nicholson's Joker, is when he put on flesh-colored makeup to try and blend in. Mm-hmm. The Joker isn't just a guy that slaps on some clown face.
Mm-hmm. He can't. It's not a personality he takes. It's not a costume you can just slip on and off. Part of the reason why he's gone mad is because of that.
Right, because he's disfigured.
He's disfigured, yeah. And it's based on actually a silent movie called The Man Who Laughed. It was a clown who was become disfigured. His face has been...
He could all keep into a smile, yeah.
Yeah, into a smile.
And I brought this up before, but one of the reasons why I fell in love with the Heath Ledger Joker, because at first, when I first saw The Dark Knight, I started to cringe because he's like, I don't know how he got these scars. And he told the first story, and I'm like, no, don't. Oh, man. So then for the first part there, I'm like, oh, that sucks. Then he tells the next version of the story. So it's like, oh, he's doing the multiple choice thing. That's the Joker. He doesn't want you to know who he is. He doesn't care what his... he just wants to give you whatever hang up that he thinks is going to, get to you. That's what it's about more so than him. It's not about him. It's about everything's a joke to him. So, and that's where I love the AI Batman we do, because that AI actually gets back the Joker very well.
What's that? I don't follow any rules. That's my one rule. Do you follow?
Yeah.
I gotta say that, and I know it's unpopular, but I do think that The Dark Knight is overrated. I think Batman Begins and The Dark Knight Rises are both better films. However, and a big part of that is because everybody buys into this whole, well, the Joker is just an agent of chaos. No, he's not. He's the most methodical character we've ever seen in a film ever. If you look at all the stuff he had to plan out in order to enact his whole thing with the ferry boats and the hospital and all the stuff he does, that took months, if not years, of planning. And so I always laugh every time, in the hospital scene when he's talking to Dent and he says, do I look like a guy with a plan? Hell yes, you do. Every step you take was planned, but it's also ridiculous. It's impossible. I mean, you actually performed surgery on a guy to put a bomb in his stomach and timed it so that you would be interrogated at just the right time so that the bomb would get you free. Okay, sure, I buy that. But anyway, I digress.
Cesar Romero's Joker was more methodical. Anyway, he says, Joaquin never liked saying the name Thomas Wayne. Phillips said it would have been easier for him if the movie was called Arthur and had nothing to do with any of that stuff. But in the long run, I think we got it. I think he got it and appreciated it.
You know, funny because wasn't Batman v Superman originally titled Martha? Oh, sorry.
Martha. Actor Brett Cullen stars in the Joker as Thomas Wayne. By writing Thomas Wayne to the script, Phillips and his co-screenwriter Scott Silver keep Joker tied to the mythology of the comic book, despite telling a wholly original story about Arthur Fleck, an aspiring stand-up comedian and clown for hire who descends into the Joker. Dante Pereira Olson appears briefly in the movie as Bruce Wayne, suggesting Batman could one day exist in the Joker mythology. Phoenix reveals to the New Yorker, I keep wanting to say the New Yorker. Phoenix reveals to the New York Times that he and Phoenix also had fruitful disagreements over the physical transformation that would be required to play Arthur Fleck / the Joker. Both men agreed Phoenix should undergo a drastic weight change, but Phoenix wanted to put on the pounds and not lose them. After slimming down for roles in the past, Phoenix told Phillips he did not want to do it again. It's a horrible way to live, Phoenix said. I think Arthur should be kind of heavy. Todd was like, I think you should do the real thin person. Phoenix lost the battle and gave in to Phillips' vision, losing 52 pounds to play Arthur.
Sounds like you want to do like a more Mark David Chapman type thing almost than a Joker.
Well, yada, yada, yada. Talk about Circle Oscar buzz, yada, yada, yada. Opens nationwide October 4th. Okay.
Oscar buzz for this? Okay.
That's what they're talking.
Oh, if he were to get nominated, how many times in history have two different actors been nominated for the same role?
I don't know if that's ever happened, does it?
Godfather?
Maybe. Yeah, you're right, because they both were both Marlon Brando and Robert De Niro were nominated. Okay, so that probably
but they weren't playing the same. Well, or is De Niro? I'm not.
Yeah, they were both playing Don Corleone.
Okay.
Yeah, because De Niro's the young
Corleone.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't foresee that per se. Mecca sounds like you have something to say.
No, sorry.
She was just breathing hard. And by the way, Alpha J, what do the Oscars mean anything anymore? The answer to that is no.
No, they don't.
They could try to make them mean something again, but Rob and I have talked this subject to death. We kind of figured out where the Oscars died and what they need to get back to where they were, but they'll never do it.
The Oscars died with The English Patient.
Yep, Weinstein's killed it.
Watch, you're gonna have this total BS movie win an Oscar.
Yeah, you know, I remember when English Patient won all those awards, and so the wife and I were like, "Wow, maybe we should check this out." And we watched like maybe half of it, and we were like, "This is crap." And
now that's where the Weinstein started basically buying the Oscars every year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Oscars, I mean, as long as it's about as long as it's a movie about race, and as long as it stars somebody British playing an American, and as long as there's a British director, then pretty much you got your Oscar trifecta there. And it has to be long, pointless, and boring. Because
speaking of long, pointless, and boring, why don't we move on to another subject since we've already carried on so much on these already. Muppets got canceled before it even had a chance to take off on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did it not even premiere yet?
Didn't have a chance.
No.
And so, is it just they're just never gonna premiere it?
Why not? They didn't even give it a fucking shot. But all right, here we go. I'm gonna get the story up.
Well, did they even make any yet, or it was just one in their talks, right?
Oh wait, you did say we're talking about Muppets now, right? Let me switch my thing
or the Eastern Bloc version, the Muppets. Come there, they go to see Muppets.
Yes, they took Manhattan. It's very easy.
So,
all we need is song and dance, and we can take over Manhattan.
How hard is it to do the Muppets? I'm sorry, I'm really ticked off because I freaking love the Muppets. Okay, I love the Muppets.
I'm still mad that I only have 3 seasons on DVD. They never released any.
Yeah, they never fucking finished them. And some
I
of the
hate that.
seasons are in the later, like the Star Wars episode, and some of the other ones are all in the later. Yeah.
I'm just excited that I had an animation that fits every topic we've talked about. So notice we have the Swedish chef cooking a porg with a board.
With a board.
Yeah. And now he's making kelpian stew.
Where's the porgy,
Oh,
We gotta cook the porg, get the porg with the kelp. Yep.
Well, anyway, I'm taking this story from a TV series finale.
did I just put that in the
Muppets. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll.
don't matter. They're all
But
the same.
it pisses me off because you've got the formula. But it's not a difficult formula to do. Okay.
Well, it is when you're trying to make things woke.
Yeah, here's the thing, and I think, and even if let's hope that Disney is not going to go full on CBS wokeness or anything, but even if they're not, the Muppets, as fun a show as the Muppet Show was, it was slightly edgy, right, for a kids show. And so could Disney get away with the kind of humor we saw in the original Muppet Show and make it that funny? Yeah, they absolutely could. However, every SJW group on the planet would then immediately start protesting Disney. And so they would have to make a sanitized Muppet Show where Miss Piggy runs everything and is the smartest person ever, and nobody dare make a fat joke about her because that's body shaming. And remember, they used to make fat jokes about Miss Piggy all the freaking time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so,
my God.
Yeah, so you can't be making fat jokes about Miss Piggy. You can't be making any kind of jokes based on what species the various creatures are. They would have to. The problem is, in this modern hypersensitive political climate that we're in right now, they would have to neuter the Muppets. And so in that respect, I guess in hindsight, I'm kind of glad they canceled it. Maybe we'll get to a point in a few years where we can actually have, fun quality entertainment again. And if that happens, then maybe Disney can relaunch the Muppets.
I remember Christopher Reeve was a guest star on the Muppet Show, and he goes, "Oh, let me tell you." He said, "What did you think of Miss Piggy?" He goes, "Let me tell you something, Kermit. I had to lift locomotives as Superman. Some were heavier than she was." That's
Yeah, they can't do it because look at what happened. Look at what happened with Walter Mosley, right? The creativity is stifled because everybody's offended by everything now. So they clearly couldn't do it.
Right. And in fact,
anyway, let's run.
Well, I just want to say real quick, Captain Hare was making a comment that a modern Muppet series couldn't have Statler and Waldorf. You're absolutely right, because you know what? They're making fun of the elderly. Oh my God!
Yeah, that's us making fun of the show now. That's like we have become Statler and Waldorf.
Mm-hmm. Well, at least we don't have to worry about SJWs.
Why should we? They don't worry about us. Just when you think this show is terrible, something wonderful happens.
We got
It ends.
What? It ends. Oh!
I got my pink slip.
Pink slip? What are you, some kind of transvestite?
No, they're kicking us off the show. Thank God.
And then, of course, we're going to have new Happy, the HR rep, come in and say, hey, guys, I'm sorry. You just can't make those kind of comments. It's not very sensitive, okay?
Don't try to tell me I'm not sensitive, Four Eyes.
Your mom was pretty sensitive last night. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's not hard. Why do they keep Disney? I mean, and this really sucks because Jim Henson kind of wanted Disney to take over the Muppets years and years ago. And they finally did get the Muppets, and they've done nothing but fuck them up ever since. I don't understand.
Every time somebody puts up a clip of Trevor Noah on Facebook or whatever, I always play Statler and Waldorf. That was good. That was great. That was good. That was okay. That wasn't too good. Parts of it I didn't like. I didn't like it very much. That was terrible. Oh, that was not take him away. Boo. It works for anything though. Take him away. Boo, boo. So the original haters. Fans hoping to see Frozen star Josh Gad on Muppets Live Another Day appeared to be out of luck. New reports suggest that Disney Plus has scrapped the latest edition of the iconic Jim Henson franchise. First reported by THR. First reported by THR, Gad and series showrunner Andy Horowitz and Eddie Kitsis, once upon a time, have decided to part from the project due to creative differences with a new Muppets executive. After a longtime Muppet Studio exec Debbie McKellen left the outfit. Yeah, well, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, we all know what that's a... That's right. Disney chief Bob Iger replaced her with Disney Parker's senior vice president, David Lightbody. It said the creative differences between the executives after Lightbody took over is what led to the exodus of the show's attached talent. Live Another Day was being planned as an 8-episode miniseries set after the events of Muppets Take Manhattan. After Lightbody took over, he reportedly offered the three their roles in direction he wanted to take the franchise, though the trio is said to have passed. It said the scrapping of this limited series has no impact on Muppets Now, another show announced at D23 last month. Muppets Live Another Day is the second project scrapped by Disney direct-to-consumer platform ahead of its launch later this year. Earlier this summer, the service sent Michael Seitzman's book Enchantment to the chopping block after the property reportedly took on a darker tone than initially intended. Earlier this year, a longtime Muppets performer Frank Oz admitted he wasn't a fan of the latest projects to come out of the franchise. The pure quality I'm talking about is the purity of the character. I had to turn the Muppet thing off. The ABC series, after 15 minutes, Oz said during a panel at South by Southwest, Fozzie had a girlfriend and he drank some wine. I don't know. It totally destroyed Fozzie. Destroyed the reason you love them is because they were true to their character. That's why you love them. They touch your heart. Well, I don't see a problem with them having, Fozzie pounded down a beer.
Waka
So anyway,
waka.
Waka waka. Let's start the show with a bang. Thank you, sir.
He's
Waka waka.
evidently not the character that would have a beer, though, according to Oz. Who would know? I mean, you could argue like Ralph would probably have a beer.
Well, Fozzie was doing stand-up in like seedy clubs. I mean, so
Yeah,
I
I definitely think Fozzie would be a beer drinker. I do.
Well, I can't argue with Frank Oz. He's the man who's behind
Yeah.
it.
Okay, well, like I said, it's it just seems that they're over.
We all know Gonzo has a coke habit, but
Well, duh. I mean, come on.
With a nose like that.
Stephen Ernest.
Maybe that's why the Brie Larson thing that came out on Bounding the Comics the other day. Maybe Gonzo snorted all her coke, and that's why she's zombied out like a crazy person. We can cover that article if you want. That's kind of hilarious. But
Which article?
oh, this is funny. This is that I was playing the Name That Drug game with Brie Larson because she's on something here, but I just can't tell what.
Oh, let's take a look here.
Allegedly. Oh, she's got a whole interview. She's like, I just wanted to play a person and like I want to play a person and I didn't want to be a hero and
Bree, what they're listening to this. Let me give you some advice. Stop talking. you're not helping
there's
yourself.
a great thing. There's a great thing in there.
Look at that. She's got the crazy eyes.
Yeah, who took that picture? That's
right from the that's a freeze frame.
Okay, that is hilarious right there. That's
why I say she's like on something. Everything you freeze frame there.
To be a hero, I just wanted to be a person.
What does that even mean?
I just wanted to be a person. You see, I know that everybody thinks that I'm not really human. For some reason, they think that I am not from Earth, but I really am a person. So please, just let me be a person. Because,
And they bring up the comments she made. I don't need a 40-year-old white dude to tell me what didn't work about a wrinkle at a time. It wasn't made for him.
Oh no, you gotta hear that whole clip. It's hilarious. She goes on for like a minute, and I swear she's like on withdrawal from coke or something. She's just zonked out, nonsensical shit she's saying.
I think of the words like hero, I think of Brian, you know? And I think of Eva. Like these are people that are
what's with the teeth?
She is strung out on something,
that are
man.
around him that are
holy cow
with compassion, that are open to
dear God,
being wrong, that are curious, that are ever evolving and growing.
Look what are the teeth?
Like, shut the fuck up, bitch.
That I know. And I think
I think someone should be talking about to shut her up.
Like everybody said, they go, "What the hell is wrong with her?"
Well, as I said, like, what's she on?
I think I think the reason you're having such trouble, Mecca,
Jamie Foxx is just like, shut up, shut up.
I think that what happened was she ate about 16 to 20 ounces of pure cocaine. Then she took about 45 Quaaludes.
And no.
And she's just letting them duke it out.
It's an upper
You're
and a
not
downer.
understanding now. The coke binge started 4 days ago.
Mhm.
Right.
Now she's in Toronto, so she probably couldn't take her coke with her to Toronto. So
she
now
just had
she's
to eat
like,
it all.
yeah, she probably had to eat it all, and then she's like on weed, or I'm thinking she's on prescription painkillers.
That could be
mixed with coke.
OxyContin.
Yeah, mixed with
I could
coke.
see like if she ate about, say, I don't know, 4,500 milligrams of OxyContin along with.
Do they even make Quaaludes anymore?
No, they don't.
Well, that's because you can get OxyContin, so you know.
Well, and what is that? The prescription cocaine, the Ritalin or whatever. Not Ritalin.
Oh yeah, she might have. Well, because if you see her and everything else, she's got the crazy eyes and she sniffs a lot. And I've been hearing a lot of people tell me, oh yeah, people are saying she's on coke and stuff. That's like, even Gary from Neurotic has said something like that. And I think that's where people are bringing that to me from, because like I don't like to look at her that much and analyze her.
So she did the Dexatrim diet to get thin.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. So it really, to me, it sounds like she's on a mix of an upper and a downer here.
I was gonna say, isn't that what they found? Like Dexatrim basically was like cocaine or some kind of.
Oh, Dexatrim's speed. Yeah, that's speed.
Yeah, that's what it was.
But it's still an upper. So to me, she's got very, very dark, like bags under her eyes, like super bags under her eyes. So she might be exhausted from a long press junket. But yeah, this is like, she's not making any sense.
I think I got it. It's pretty simple. I think that she just ate an entire handful of Dexatrim, but then her mouth was dry, so she washed it down with a half a gallon of NyQuil
and vodka.
Yeah.
It's a metaphor.
The rise. I'm looking at the BBC News. The rise and fall of Quaaludes.
The Quaaludes, that's why you got to see the Wolf of Wall Street, Rob. There's like a whole thing on, I think, Quaaludes, and they were like,
Quaalude was a popular drug. It was popular in the U.S. in the 1970s. Now the drug is back in the headlines after the revelation that comedian Bill Cosby admitted giving them to women he wanted to have sex with.
You got to take the Quaaludes and put them in the pudding pop.
See, now they're saying in chat, Neil's asking Sean Strife, why do I get the feeling that Marvel might be having second thoughts about bringing Captain Marvel?
Sex with
Brie.
Brie.
Well, Kevin Feige. But yeah.
Now they can say we're making shit up.
Yeah.
Why do you think they wanted Spider-Man? I mean, so badly.
Well, now she's backtracking on the whole. No, because now she's like backtracking. Did she get another talking to? Because she's backtracking on the whole, because remember, she's like, no, I wanted to be a hero. I want to be able to use this platform. And now she's like, oh, I didn't want to just be a superhero. I just want to be a person.
Like me to look up to.
And props to Bounty into Comics for going and calling her out on all that crap, because they bring up all of her like activism, and she goes on and on about, oh, and I think I can grow as a person, and you don't have to look at like what we did a year ago, because people grow and change as people. And so yeah, I think people are still, or I think somebody gave her a talking to about we're still kind of stuck on this whole I don't need a 40-year-old white dude thing. It's like, well, I'm sorry you said it.
Didn't she actually start going wah 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 wah?
Regulators, it says here, regulators eventually stepped in. By 1984, the drug was listed as Schedule 1 in the U.S., Class B drug in the U.K., which makes its production and distribution illegal altogether. But it's probably still they're probably still coming in from Mexico or whatever.
Yeah, well, there's they like I said, I think I'm pretty sure there's a bit about it in the Wolf of Wall Street. But anyway, this woman, she just needs to shut the fuck up. Because if you go back and watch our reports on this thing from before the movie came out and when she started opening her mouth, I was kind of like on like the neutral side of things. Andre was even kind of trying to explain to people what her idiocracies were and what she was trying to fucking say, but she just wouldn't shut the fuck up. And then the movie sucked on top of it all. So then it was like this double whammy of, okay, the movie sucks, she sucks, and they're actually banking on this chick to be like the end all be all of the Marvel universe. We're fucked. Yeah. The only bright spot we got is Spider-Man. And then Endgame came out and we're like, oh, so we got the not Captain Marvel version, thank God. You know what I mean?
Was it ever confirmed?
In what version of this movie that we have now of Endgame does the movie Captain Marvel make any sense or have any reason to exist?
The funny thing is, I think Captain Marvel is a better tie to Spider-Man Far From Home than Endgame.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And that's only through the villains, of course. Well,
and now it's not going to matter. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, which is kind of ironic, but I think that it's obvious that Captain Marvel was a move by Marvel Corporation to try and force the MCU to be pure woke. But I'm hoping that, honestly, that as time goes on, if Captain Marvel 2 is not a huge success, which it probably will not be based on the fans' basically reaction to Captain Marvel, I don't think Captain Marvel 2 is going to be a big gangbuster runaway hit or anything, but I don't think a whole lot in Phase 4 is going to really do all that great.
No. Okay, man, I am pure. I have not had a gangbuster yet. I hope that Marvel Studios doesn't have to yield to what Marvel Comics wants them to do, because they already destroyed the comic book industry. Now they want to destroy the film industry as well, because it's already been a pretty bad year for box office for good reason. It's been a pretty bad year.
Well, Marvel hasn't had a very good year lately anyway, because look at who they've got employed there recently. A certain Miss Zoe Quinn, who, That's all I need to say. I don't even need to elaborate.
I listen, okay, I don't want to sound like one of those doom and gloom guys, because I've always loved Marvel Comics up until recently when it went full woke. But and I love them. I love Marvel, the movies up until now. If they are going full woke, then I can't wait until their first high profile failure.
Yeah.
Which I think is probably going to be the Eternals. When is that coming out? Because Black Widow's okay. Well, Black Widow's still going to do well.
I don't know if it will, because what's the point? She's dead.
Right. I actually, I think Black Widow would have done well if they replaced Captain Marvel with the Black Widow film.
Yeah, and then give us Captain Marvel now.
Right. And in fact,
he deserved it too.
Yeah.
What better swan song for Scarlett Johansson than to have her solo film right before we get her dramatic end? I think that would have been awesome for them to actually do Black Widow instead of the Captain Marvel thing. You could still do the Skrull subplot and all that. You just, don't put it back in the 90s. Just make it a few years ago, when she, or even current, it doesn't matter. You don't have to make it a stupid period piece. You just make it prior to the snap.
Mm-hmm.
But
what are you turning into some kind of feminist?
Damn right, Hank.
Well, yeah,
I'm a feminist. I love the feel of women.
That's nasty.
We should have got a Black Widow movie about 5 years ago. Really, we really should have.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer. Okay. Listen, there's a lot of people after Black Panther showed up. Oh, Shuri should get her own movie. This character should get her own movie. This other character should get her own movie. Not every character can carry a movie. Okay. Right. Black Widow can. She works well as a supporting character, but she could probably carry her own movie. Stop thinking that Shuri or Okoye or Valkyrie or whatever, or Pepper Potts can carry their own movie. No.
Nobody's gonna see. No one will see a Pepper Potts movie.
Well, it's like, does anybody want a Lois Lane movie on the DC side of things? No. Right?
Oh, God, no.
A Pepper Potts movie is stupid. and as far as Okoye and Shuri and stuff, they're great supporting characters, but yeah, they're not meant to carry a film because, like many good supporting characters, they have a skill that is vital to help our heroes, but they don't, but they're not a lead character. And Black Widow, however, could be. And that's the thing about Black Widow, is that she's got that potential to her to where, okay, I could see an interesting movie, which is why it's a shame that they're finally giving her a solo film after they killed off the character, which is just stupid.
I got 3 examples against all that shit, like the why you shouldn't make a supporting character into a movie or a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Evan Almighty, Joni, and Chachi. There you go.
Look at how. No, wait a minute. Now, come on. Joni and Chachi was the runaway smash hit of the 80s, wasn't it? Oh, wait. No, I'm sorry. That was cocaine.
For like what? 2 episodes?
Cocaine's hell of a drug.
Looks like I picked the wrong week to stop methamphetamines.
And I always say the same thing about James Bond. Everybody was, oh yeah, they should make an Eve Moneypenny movie. They should make another movie where Idris Elba is 003, and no, stop. James Bond is not Marvel. Stop trying to make it Marvel.
Right.
That's my biggest complaint. That was my biggest complaint about Spectre. They tried too hard to make it Marvel.
Well, did you want to do the Bond story before we?
Do we want to do the Bond story actually?
It's kind of a fun one. I think you'll like it.
Wait. We're going to talk about James Bond?
Yeah, you're going to give me a stroke.
I probably shouldn't show that one.
Mute your thing. It plays a video, so make sure you pause it when it pops up.
Let's see. Where's James Bond? Let's see. Oh yeah, number 4. I don't know, because now, just so you know, when my avatar changes here, that's not what I wanted. PCs and Lorehead. I didn't mean to do that.
I like Badhead.
All right, so here we go. Now you may recognize this scene. Yeah. Now, I just want you to know that after this scene, that is me as James Bond. I'm just saying, I actually did play James Bond. It's 100% true. Yes, that is me.
Oh, there you go, right there.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
All right. So what were we going to say about James Bond now?
Well, first of all, it's almost two parts. Pierce Brosnan has said he thinks it's time for Bond to be a woman. He says it's time for a woman.
Pierce Brosnan is what 112 years old and obviously lost his mind.
Well, he says, I think we watched the guys
Pierce
do.
Brosnan would probably say whatever the fuck you wanted him to for a sandwich.
Right?
Well,
is he on that thing for the $35 shout outs or something now?
Probably.
Well, he says, I think we've watched the guys do it the last 40 years. Get out of the way, guys. Put a woman up there, Brosnan told the outlet. He was telling the Hollywood Reporter. I think it would be exhilarating. It would be exciting.
We already have one. It's called Spy with Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah, it was awesome, wasn't it? I thought it was supposed to be awesome. That's what everybody was saying.
I don't know. I don't like her.
Box office, people liked it, but the movie itself sucked, in my opinion.
But anyway, former Bond girl slams female 007. James Bond was conceived as a man. She's right. If former Bond girl Valerie Leon has her way, the world will never see a female James Bond. The 75-year-old actress who starred in The Spy Who Loved Me, and 1983's Never Say Never Again, griped on Good Morning Britain. The world has gone mad. I'm dressed in black. I am in mourning that we're here to talk about Bond being a woman. She continued, he was conceived as a man. Ian Fleming created him as a man. And she's right. London-bred Leon added, he's a fantasy. So many men have wanted to be Bond and women have wanted to be with Bond. How can people fantasize about a woman as Bond? Men aren't going to go for a woman as a killer or an assassin. Finally, she offered a more practical argument, noting, why would producers change something that's been so successful for years? Leon is Leon or Leon? Leon isn't the only Bond girl with those sentiments. Eva Green, who starred as Vesper Lynd alongside Daniel Craig in Casino Royale, previously said Bond should always be a man. Over the weekend, GoldenEye star Pierce Brosnan made headlines when he supported the idea of a female James Bond, but he said he didn't think it would happen with the current franchise producers. Still, the feminist angle may be gaining traction. The upcoming No Time to Die, which will be Daniel Craig's last appearance as Bond, will reportedly reveal the next Agent 007, actress Lashana Lunchlady Lynch. There is a pivotal scene at the start of the film where M says, "Come in, 007," and in walks Lashana, who is black, beautiful, and a woman.
I always hated that kind of terminology. So is that implying that being black is somehow less than beautiful? Like, she's black, but don't worry, she looks good.
She really doesn't, though. She really doesn't. I've seen her.
I know, that's the funny thing, though. Lashana Lynch, she's kind of plain looking, really, but...
I got in trouble when I said that she had the expression of a fast food employee who looked like they were making a drug deal, because they assumed some Star Trek person assumed all fast food employees were black. And it's like, no. This is any drugged out fast food worker, with their mouth hanging open and their eyes vacant. It doesn't matter what color you are to have that expression.
Looks like she's been in this soul-crushing menial job for who knows how long.
Yeah, she doesn't smile. She doesn't look like she wants to be there.
It's a man, baby.
And I saw, on Facebook, somebody was saying, "Well, I'm not a fan, but I think Bond." Okay, shut up. Okay, if you're not a fan, then shut up.
Right. You just. Thank you for clearly demonstrating that you have nothing to say on this subject. If you want to say you're not a fan of something, okay, that's the end of your comment.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get sick of that. Well, I'm not a fan of Star Trek, but I think, well, then don't tell me what Star Trek should be.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a fan of James Bond, but I think they should kill Bond in the first 10 minutes of the next movie. I'm like, well, then you've just killed the franchise.
Right.
Along with it.
And I disagree with Sister Harrow. Eva Green, she was fine as a Bond girl, but no, she would not make a good female Bond because there's no such thing as a female Bond.
Get it through your heads. The character of James Bond is a person. That is who he is. That is his name. And son of Andrew and Monique Delacroix Bond.
It's not the doctor. Well, in
Yes.
the Doctor,
Well-
at least in the Doctor, you could at least say, yeah, I can see that they could swap genders. You
Right.
know, that was like not that was the least wrong
Right,
thing
well,
about Doctor Who.
the new Doctor Who, the problem isn't the fact that the Doctor's a woman. The problem is that it's crap
Poorly
writing.
written.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the same thing with everything else, is the writing.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, Michael, you're a Bond fan like Rob is, and I asked him the same question a while back, and I'm going to ask you the same thing. Do you think that they could fix this whole thing and everybody could have their cake and eat it too if they just would technically, full bore, just take this back to the 1960s and just keep recasting Bond, but just keep it in the 1960s? It doesn't have to be updated.
Here's the thing.
Something like that.
I think that if you look at now, first of all, I love the Daniel Craig run. I think that Daniel Craig's Bond is up. He's right up there. To me, Sean Connery will always be James Bond, but Daniel Craig is the closest to Connery that we've gotten as far as just being pure awesome as in the role. Now, what they did with Moneypenny in the last couple of films, there you go. You did it already. You don't need to bring in LaShonda to be the new female action here. Moneypenny already did it. And by the way, Moneypenny is a black woman, and unlike certain other people, is attractive. And
wasn't she the one who also spoke out against this? The one who played Moneypenny? I know another Bond girl has spoken out about this.
I don't know if she said anything on it or not, but I mean, my thing is
let me see.
with the Moneypenny thing. Now, here's the thing: Moneypenny screwed up, right, in Skyfall and shot Bond by mistake, which, by the way, creates a huge plot hole because later in the film, Bond takes out a fragment of the bullet. But that's anyway. But Moneypenny's whole thing was that, because of that, she decided not to be a field agent, and she became the Moneypenny that we supposedly know from the 60s and stuff. And I'm totally fine with that, but they showed that Moneypenny can kick ass if she wants to. Now, why do you need to then bring in another black woman to now be officially a 007? If you're going to do anything at all, make Moneypenny the next 007. But at least she already works for MI6. But no, I think that what the thing that really pisses me off about these people bitching about Bond being a woman, or at least having a female 007, is that, my God, they nailed when they brought in oh gosh, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name, Fiennes as M. When they bring in, and they wrapped up Skyfall, that was the perfect setup right there. They brought Bond full circle at the end of Skyfall. And I really like Spectre because Spectre felt like a full-on 1960s Bond movie made in the 21st century. And so to piss that away makes no sense to me. Why? I really don't understand why they're now saying, oh, well, let's make a Bond a woman because, that's what everybody's always wanted.
No. This other Bond girl, Trina Parks, also said, no, don't make her a woman. Don't make her Lashana.
And and it's not, even though Lashana, I'm making fun of her looks and everything, but I mean, she just looks kind of plain to me. She's not ugly. She's just not.
She's not hot enough to be a Bond girl, let alone to be James Bond.
Right.
Oh,
in my opinion.
As Bond women now.
Yeah, well, whatever. Bond person, right? Because and here's the thing, it's like I didn't even mind, it's like if you start talking about throwing agendas and politics into crap, in Skyfall they implied that Bond was bisexual, right? That or at least has had sexual encounters.
Now, isn't that from the books though?
I don't know. I've never read the novels.
I've only read a couple of them so far. I haven't gotten that far.
Right. But
I thought somebody said that. If anybody knows in the chat, let me know. I thought I had read somewhere though that was an aspect that was.
But irregardless, it doesn't matter because Bond could have just been shining it on to try and lull. Oh gosh, now I forgot his name. But Silva.
Charmer.
Yeah, to try and charm Silva in order to get an advantage, or maybe he really has had sex with men. Doesn't matter, But and so that. Throwing little innuendos and stuff like that, that's fine. I don't care. But to radically change the character to the point where you make a character who has been around since the 1950s because keep in mind that Bond was already popular when Dr. No came out. He was just popular in comic strips and stuff. And by the way, look at the old comic strips. You can see why Sean Connery got the role, because he looks exactly like Bond from the comic strips. But what is wrong with these people? You have a character that's been around for over half a century, a character, not a franchise, not a Star Trek is a franchise, right? Bond is a person. And you don't just suddenly say, oh, well, we'll just make that person a woman now. Why? What is the, unless you have to have a compelling reason why.
Because it'll get clicks, because people will talk about it on Twitter, because it'll show up in paired analytics.
Nobody's, you know what, if they make, Bond, Vagina of Death or something as the next film, and that will be a complete flop of a film, because nobody wants to see a female Bond. And if they want to see a female kick-ass kind of movie, guess what? They're making them. Some are good, some of them are bad, but they're out there. There are plenty of films starring women kicking butt. Now, sometimes it's kind of, when you see the trailers and you see women throwing around, 250-pound men like they were rag dolls, I always bust up laughing. But, at the same time, you can, and thank you. Kill Bill is a great example of a powerful female-led film. You don't have to, take the franchise that's been around forever and co-opt it and just and turn it into that. You just create something good. And Quentin Tarantino did that with Kill Bill, but nobody else has got the balls to do it. So they just want to steal another franchise and convert it. What is wrong with these people where they can't come out with something that is simply original? Sorry, I'll get off my rocker.
You're not wrong.
You're right.
We've said the same kind of things a million times over. That's the problem. Is that they don't, and I said this before too, is that they'll get the wrong idea from Wonder Woman, and what they should have gotten, they got from Wonder Woman is that we need more female everything. No, you just need to go back and find the strong female heroes that were already there. Here's a news flash for you fuckers. Wonder Woman is over 75 years old, and she's just finally getting a movie. She should have had a movie way back when.
Although she did have a TV show back in the 70s. So
true, but she still should have got more love than she did sooner.
Well, that's the thing, though. She was always iconic. She was the one on, when I kind of talk about the big superheroes that I remember as a kid, it was Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, and Spider-Man. Those are the big.
The best thing about Wonder Woman is she's not Superwoman.
No, she's her own character. She's not just the female. She's not an alien that landed and is now. That's the thing. She's her own character, and that's what they don't understand. You need these characters that are their own characters, because it gets boring and it gets condescending and it gets lazy, and we see how lazy it is. And I don't want to be pandered to as an audience member. If I want to see James Bond, I don't want to see lunch lady Lashana looking like a zombie on screen, bored and disinterested. I want to see a hot guy with his shirt off doing all these athletic things, sleeping with beautiful women. It's fantasy, isn't it?
But the funny thing though is, Becca, and if you've watched Bond, like I've watched every Bond film multiple times. I have the 25 film collection. I love Bond. He's one of those franchises that I absolutely love. And strong female characters is nothing new to Bond. No. Everybody knows that Bond screws around and all that, and they call.
Yeah, but so do they. That's what they're doing for information, for access. To, they're doing that. They're using what they have. That's why they pick these intelligent, sexy, smart people to do these jobs. Right. Because they need to be able to be charming and slip in somewhere and double cross somebody.
And look at characters like Pussy Galore, right? Pussy Galore. Everybody knows the joke of her saying her name and Sean Connery going, "Oh, I must be dreaming," But it's like Pussy Galore kicked ass in that film, and she wasn't taking James Bond's crap. And that's the thing. There are plenty of women throughout the franchise that fought side by side with Bond, that fought against Bond, and that were just as smart and just as capable as Bond. And so I get so sick of people thinking that there are no strong women just because the main character happens to be named James.
Right. Well, not only that, look at what they're doing with Terminator, and they're taking one of the most strongest female characters in cinema history and making her a failure now just so they can tote their little agenda.
Right. And it's like Sarah Connor was such an iconic role, and now they're gonna, I mean, so that we can double down on girl power, we're gonna ruin a iconic female character that every nerd has had some kind of fantasy about. I mean, what?
Yep. We got a super chat, Rob.
$4.99 from Mexican Iron Man. I love that. Darn it, I'm late. Hail to Midnight's Edge, aka the grad school professors of Fandom Collective. Fandom Collective Thought. Hail Trekker 2. Yes.
And by the way, Mexican Iron Man, you still have not updated your avatar. I told him if he's Mexican Iron Man, that picture should be Bender, no one else. I'm sorry. That is Mexican Iron Man. But
yes,
number one, he's from Mexico. Number two, he's 40% iron. Okay, I rest my case.
He's another 40% Dolomite, isn't he?
Yeah, he's also 40. He's 40% a lot of things.
The black metal that won't take no crap or whatever it was. But talk about, like I said, the female characters in Bond. I'm like, it's something that it's one of those things that's suffered from revisionist history. I mean, you up and down all the films, like Holly Goodhead, who went to, she was an astronaut. She's a freaking astronaut. Bond couldn't get into space without her.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who else? What's it thinking of?
Well, even characters like Mayday. First of all, Mayday was one of the first Bond girls that was actually imposing. And remember, she saved California by sacrificing herself in that film. And they just don't understand that, they've done it. They've done it to death. What is your problem, people? Just keep doing what you've done.
It's this constant need to reinvent the wheel. They need to reinvent, and I'm going to sound ageist. Millennials think they need to think that they're the first ones to do something.
Right.
That's what it is. There's been no strong female characters in Bond movies. Well, yeah, go watch the movies. Go read the books. There's been tons of them.
Well, that's the problem. They haven't ever actually watched or read some of these things. They know the memes of them.
Right.
It's like it's same thing with Sarah Connor. They know who she is. They've probably never seen the Terminator movies. They've probably seen a little bit of the second one. But I'm sure they haven't.
They're not even thinking it through. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
They never even sat down to think through what I just said, and that was, oh shit! By doing this, we're making Sarah Connor a fucking failure.
Right.
Well, I don't have anything more to say about this. So, but we've been going 2 hours actually. So that's
I know it's one of the longest shows we've had in a while. I think that was just about everything we had to cover. I don't think there was anything else tonight.
Anyway. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else to cover. Charlie Sheen's ex-wife played a Bond girl called Christmas Jones. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I thought Christmas only comes once a year. I remember that line.
I can suspend disbelief with the best of them, but when she said, "I'm Christmas Jones, I'm a nuclear scientist," I'm like, yeah, she's a nuclear scientist.
I'm totally a nuclear scientist. I know about nuclears. Nuclears are power
in my sleep.
Yeah, me and Mrs. Anti-Trekker laughed for months about her because I mean she was the most not unconvincing scientist in film history.
I had a boss who bought a BMW Z3, the same model and same year and even the same color as Pierce Brosnan drove in GoldenEye.
Nice.
And he was saying, and he was, and he showed it to me, and I said to him, this is the only non-British car that James Bond ever drove in a movie. He goes, really got all excited. Really? Oh yeah, BMW Z3. I said, I got sawed in half in the 2 movies later, but and he's just like so excited that he had a Bond car finally, And then I heard him say, "Yeah, the only non-British car that James Bond ever drove in a movie." Yeah, he was really excited that he got a cool car. So, yeah,
I'd still take the Aston Martin. Sorry.
Oh yeah. Supposedly the V8 Vantage is going to be in the 77 V8 Vantage is going to be in the new movie. So, which is actually the freaking coolest Bond car, one of the coolest Aston Martins ever made.
Although I gotta say, I still think the coolest Bond car was the Lotus from The Spy Who Loved Me.
Oh, the Lotus Esprit? Yeah.
Yeah, that could turn into a submarine. I mean, come on. That's so freaking awesome.
Yeah. Richard Hammond on when he did Top Gear, the best Bond cars, they actually rigged one to go into water like that. They had to weigh it down with cement. They just weigh it down with cement, but they got it to work. The story about that was cool. They were looking, obviously they get a new car every few years, but they had somebody from Lotus actually came up, and they just parked it right in front of the offices, in front of Cubby Broccoli's office. And they just left it there. And then a crowd started to gather around it. Like, it was like, what's this? I'm like, it was actually a brand new car, first time it ever been shown. Was that? And he's, what is that? What is that? And then Cubby Broccoli comes out and goes, what's this car doing here? And the guy from Lotus actually comes back. He just like wandered off and he goes like, oh yeah, hi. And that's how they were able to get Cubby Broccoli to put the Lotus Esprit in those movies, is just by just having a crowd gather around and just like people just gawking at it for like a couple hours. So yeah, so it was like, it's all interesting stories. He goes, and when he said the only Alfa Romeo he ever drove was the GTB6 in Octopussy. And he says, why hasn't Bond driven more? He goes, probably because he gets wherever he's going on the back of a tow truck. Not known for the reliability. Okay, so anyway, we've pretty much, it's a great special. If you get a chance, watch it. It's a really good special. So anyway, well, I don't have anything else to discuss. Tom, you good?
I think I'm good. I got to edit that video yet, and I'm not going to get that done.
And we'd like to thank Michael J. Crawford, the anti-checker, for being here.
Thank you, my friends. It was always a pleasure.
Yes, if you like what we do, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Have a demand channel, like, subscribe, share with your friends. Make sure the bell icons are clicked. If you're subscribed already, make sure you're still subscribed, because YouTube has a bad habit of unsubscribing people. And as always, if you really like what we do, head on over to Patreon. Bloopers, outtakes, lost episodes, behind the edge making videos, my 10-minute stand-up set, and more. You support the channel for as little as $1 a month. You can also check us out on Subscribestar if you don't like Patreon, and we have PayPal if you want to support the show directly. As always,
give us a buck.
If you give a fuck, give a buck. As always, if you don't have the means to support the show financially, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. The sharing the video is actually what helps out a lot. As always, we cannot do this without you. Mecca, tell me about your channel.
I am Mecha Random 42, and subscribe to me or else. All hail Queen Mecha, destroyer of fragile egos and, bullshit.
Wow.
I don't know. What else do I do? And I play sitar sometimes. So,
Anti-Trekker, tell them about yourself again.
I am the Anti-Trekker, and I love to talk about nerdy stuff, whether it be Star Wars, Star Trek, Marvel, all that good stuff. Working on my next big project is going to be a review of Dark Phoenix. That's a painful one. But if you happen to like, Beavis and Butthead, I will just say that something very special is coming soon to my channel that just might involve Beavis and Butthead.
Nobody likes Beavis.
Okay.
Shut up, so, no, shut up, Del. Everybody likes me. I'm like, cool. No, you're not.
I'm looking forward to more inventive names like Captain Dummy.
Cool.
Oh man, I'll tell you, Dark Phoenix. Dark Phoenix, man, that's a painful movie. I was actually set to do a review of Captain Marvel. And then I literally, the day before I was going to start working on my Captain Marvel review, we saw Dark Phoenix because it dropped for home video. I hadn't seen it in theaters. And I was like, oh, screw Captain Marvel. This is worse. Oh, man. So, yeah.
And Captain Marvel's pretty bad, too.
Yeah, Captain Marvel is the worst of the Marvel films, but Dark Phoenix is the worst of the X-Men films, and the X-Men films includes X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Oh yeah,
and it's worse than that. So, yeah,
that's an accomplishment.
That it really is. Well, I'll tell you. I assume you guys haven't seen it then.
No, I
Okay.
dodged that.
So let me just set the stage for you to give you an idea of how bad this movie is. You remember I assume you've seen prior X-Men films.
Oh, yeah.
And since I know that you've at least looked at the comic books, you know the plight of mutants overall in the X universe, correct?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So this movie opens up, and I am not making this up, with a space shuttle in trouble, and the president of the United States goes to his desk and picks up the X phone to call Professor X and get the X-Men to come save the day. I am not making it. It is a black phone with an X on it.
Remember those leaks we went over, Tom? Remember that?
Yeah.
If I had a black phone with an X on it, I would expect that to be porn or hooker.
But yeah, so
X-Men. So the president's really Commissioner Gordon in this game.
yeah, it's like, but I was really, I couldn't believe it when I saw that. And Mrs. Antrecker, not a comic book fan at all, but she's seen the other X-Men films because I always make her watch everything nerdy. And she was like, what the hell is this? Since when does everybody love the X-Men? The X-Men are like the most hated superhero team ever, and that's kind of what makes it interesting. And they literally turned it into the 1960s Batman at the beginning of this, where the president's like, oh no, there's trouble. We have no one that can help. Let's call the X-Men. And I mean, I was halfway expecting to hear da-na-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na-na. You know, I couldn't believe it.
We still got to get a mariachi theme for that.
See, now I don't even think they would have anything that fucking stupid on the old X-Men cartoon, from what I recall.
No, they wouldn't. That's the thing. I mean, the old X-Men cartoon, they dumbed down some of the storylines, like when they did Days of Future Past.
Yeah, they just made them a little bit more family friendly, but they didn't. Right. It took off the edge, but they didn't change much.
Right. But yeah, but they didn't make mutants popular. I mean, the whole point of mutants is that they were an allegory for racial prejudice, and they work so well as that. You know,
and that's how come Bryan Singer was able to, at least, even though he changed them, they worked still, because he just changed the racial aspect to the gay movement and coming out of the closet thing. Yeah,
but yeah, but now for them to be basically to turn the X-Men into the Justice League, or actually, I'm sorry, the Super Friends. You know, that's making it a little more accurate. You know, to turn the X-Men into that, to where they're the nation's heroic team, everybody loves them and all that, and the president has an X phone on his desk, and then Professor X, of course, has a matching phone on his desk, so that he's like, yes, Mr. President, yes, we'll send the X-Men to space right now. Hey, Hank, you got that plane ready? Okay, take it to orbit. And they literally, it's a jet plane, all right? That they fly into orbit, and Beast is like, well, you know, it's not really designed to go out of the, you can do it. And then they do it. Oh, we're going to talk about Super Friends now. I can wait a minute. Keep your, let's see if I can remember which one it is.
You said Super Friends. So
yeah. Let me see. Look at this. Where's the music, guys?
Oh, okay, hang on.
The Super Turds in the great. Wait for it.
It's pretty close.
Touchman.
It's a little ahead. There, now it should be closer. Sons of Aqua Turd.
So yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, and actually, when I play that video on my live streams, it actually does have the Super Friends music, but a new narration that changes the name to the Turds.
Does it still sound like Ted Knight?
Yes. It's in the Great Hall, or actually, it's in the Great Bowl of the Justice League. Yeah. So yes.
Mary.
But yeah, and obviously I replaced Marvin, Wendy, and Wonder Dog with Lore Reloaded and Punchy the Wonder Cat. Which I know some people are like, what? And if you know who Lore Reloaded is, he's actually
it's another channel that you guys should totally check out.
Yeah.
Another friend of the Fandom Menace and
Yes.
all of us here. So.
Yes.
I don't think he likes me.
Well, have you had him on?
I don't think he likes me. I turned him down.
Well, that's true. That was the whole thing about. Well, and here's the funny. You should mention that, Mecca. I'll tell you a lot of interesting coincidences today. I happened to find some footage of Lore Reloaded right after you turned him down, and it's kind of sad, but you got to wonder what did Lore do. After Mecca turned him down. And for those of you that don't know, Laura did propose to Mecca on her live stream, but she did say no. And this is actual footage of Laura the next day.
That's creepy.
So yes, that's. And now he's probably really upset that I showed that, but.
That's a little creepy.
So yes, Lore he decided that if I can't be with Mecca, I can be Mecca.
Still creepy.
So yeah, that's my channel. Sorry, that was a really drawn out way of saying, hey guys, subscribe to my channel. We have fun. There you go. All right.
But I'd pull off drag much better than that.
Yeah, I think Tom does look better in a drag.
I haven't seen.
I know how to handle the makeup and make it look good.
I'll turn on the webcam. Let's see.
No, I'm not in drag right now. That episode is buried somewhere deep in the cavern. No, it's there. It's just unlisted. I did it for charity for Drunk 3PO.
Ah, okay.
I said if we got him over his goal when he was live for his charity thing, I would dress in drag on the next After Dark, and I followed through. And then I think we made him another. God, wasn't that much, but it was a little bit more on that show. Turned over all super chats, and we made up the difference for whatever YouTube took out. So
that's very cool.
Yeah, we're toxic around here. We don't do anything.
No.
Hey, sarcastic nerds in the chat.
Hey, miss. She hates me.
She despises you.
We all hate you, though.
Yeah, well.
But in a good way.
That's part of my charm. All right, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for joining us.
It's like a marriage, Rob, but we're in Russia. It's cheaper to keep you. Mm-hmm. Can't get divorced. We got to still live in the same place because there's nowhere to move to.
Yeah, that's right. All right, everybody.
That joke, I can't even remember the comedian.
Yakov Smirnoff?
No, I want to say it was like a Rodney Dangerfield or a George Carlin or a who the hell was it? Maybe Robin Williams.
Well, that's for another time. Everybody, thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time.
Good morning. Do I have the finger? I'm Krispy Kreme McDonald's.
I don't feel good.
I like big Asian butts, and I cannot lie.